So, top 10 MCs based on catalog. First of all, everybody, welcome to the show. We're really going to be getting back into these lists because, unfortunately, we just didn't get a lot of hip hop music to come out in 2021 so far, man. So I couldn't even tell you what's the best album of 2021 thus far. What would you say?
Has there been a real album in 2020? I mean, I'm not being funny. The only real album that I really heard is the Conway and the Big Ghost LTD. Is that? Do you know of another project that's
Yeah, I
really
think
come
that's
out?
the only one that we actually got geared up for and talked about, man. Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah,
only one.
I know there have been a couple of releases, but nothing that, like it's funny. The music scene down here is different in terms of how things circulate.
Right.
When you play, and so we have access to a lot of stuff down here that other cats don't. But it's like also too, it's kind of like in the same kind of like vein and rotation. So it's like kind of like it's a very interesting time for the music down here. It is.
Right, right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it was yeah, it's really interesting, man. I was listening to that Jim Jones and Harry Fraud, and I
How
don't
was
know,
it?
man. It just really wasn't. It wasn't
Was
anything to
it
really
good?
talk about. It was same stuff, man. I don't know. It wasn't.
That's what I was kind of trying to say about like a lot of the music down here. Sans a few artists, it's like no, like it's good, it's dope, but like it's like we've kind of been making that music down here for about 10, 12 years now,
Yeah.
and so yeah.
Well, Harry Fraud's supposed to be doing the whole Benny album, which should be coming pretty soon. I also saw that there was a clip of West Side Gun saying that he was working on a record with Metro,
Hmm.
Playboy Cardi, and somebody else.
I think I saw
Yeah.
that on According to Hip Hop, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, man. All right, so let's get into it, man. We're talking about top 10 MCs based on catalog. I know that, it's going to be a lot that we're going to delve into list wise. Who were you thinking in that top 10? We don't even have to go to, 1 through 5. I'm really interested to talk about this 10 through 6, really.
Oh, really? Like the back end?
Mm hmm.
Oh, okay. So on my back end, you want me to start at 10 and work my way backwards?
Yeah, yeah. Start at 10 and work down.
Okay. I picked KRS-One at number 10.
Mm. Okay.
Yes. One thing that I've found that has held up with my list, when you go back and look at my list at least, and I think a lot of catalogs work this way,
Mm
artists who provide content have a tendency to stand the test of time better. Like when
hmm.
you
Yeah.
say things that are important, impactful, and when you go back and listen to KRS's catalog,
Right.
KRS has spent a lot of his career literally talking about things and social injustices that we've seen unravel in the last 2, 3 years. So it's like I heard a lot of prophecy when I was listening to KRS. I heard a lot of dope records.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of classic hip hop songs. I heard classic hip hop albums. His catalog is impressive. He out nudged Common to me almost because of the fact it points back to what you were talking about
Mm.
how Common's work the last 5 years or so, or maybe even more, has actually probably hurt him some.
You don't feel like that happened with KRS to an extent with some of the stuff that
I
he's
mean,
put out over the years?
what's the last thing that KRS really put out?
It was about 3 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, I was about to say
Um,
it's about three, four
yeah,
years
it
ago,
wasn't
right?
too long ago. Now, one thing I will say about KRS is the fact that he has consistently put out music. Even more so than any of his peers from that era. Even more so than LL, because LL wasn't really, you know, um, he was around, but he wasn't putting out massive amounts of albums like KRS. KRS is kind of like the other side of what LL is. Like LL's your mainstream MC from the '80s that was able to stand the test of time, and then you got KRS, who made street records and, like you said, heavy content, and I think that helps the records actually age better.
No, it does. So that's why. So he out. I mean, so you literally brought up the two people that I pushed him past when I
Mm-hmm.
looked at it and went back and listened to the records, was Common and LL, who I had like right outside at like 11 and 12.
So you didn't have LL in that top 10?
No, I didn't, Mike, because I don't feel like he has a classic album, and it's so hard for you to talk about somebody having a top 10 catalog who doesn't have an album that you can directly go point to and say, that's one of the greatest rap albums that I've ever heard, because Bad would be the closest thing to it. And how does Bad stand up to something like, okay, Death Certificate?
No, you're right. You're right.
Eyes on Me.
You're right.
Iron Man.
You're right.
Painful.
It's tough. It's tough. Reggie said commercial or independent MCs. I mean, we're talking all together.
I mean, we're talking about a catalog of music, which means you have to show. Okay, so can I break down what my breakdown was as far as
break down your breakdown.
Okay, so my catalog was so the catalog for me was based on how many either classic, great, or good albums that they made, and we phased those off into like one section. And then after that, you have like the so-so to like those mid-level albums. Like for example, I find when I looked at Nas's catalog, I'm going to tell you the albums that, Mike, I called the middle ground because I was listening to the takeover. Remember when he was talking about it was written, he was like, Right. So like the middle ground is like, that's what I called the middle ground. So for me, Nas middle ground for album, right. For the middle ground was Streets Disciple, Nasir, The Firm, Hip Hop is Dead. Those were the albums where it was like, there's stuff on there, but
I didn't like Streets Disciple at all, and I know a lot of people.
Streets Disciple that much.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who were commenting on our post or our episode last week thought I was very critical of Nas, but yeah, I really wasn't feeling that album.
I will tell you this.
I love these things though.
One thing I will say about Streets Disciple, one thing that I've noticed, people who love music and who play instruments love like the production and some of the musical things done on Streets Disciple. Don't ask me why, because I've asked them to explain. Yeah. Like I've talked to musicians about it. They like Streets Disciple because of the musicality that they've told me.
I guess I haven't played my instrument in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, Mike. It's like I've had musicians and singers like tell me that that's why they like Streets Disciple. It's like because of some of the musicality and way some of the song structure goes.
Okay, I understand your point about LL, but yeah, go ahead.
No. I didn't want. I just wanted to wrap up right quick with the rest of my category, and then there are the bad albums, because you want to know what. Every great artist has made some bad material. That's one of the things that I realized, like from looking at all the stuff today. Every great artist has made bad material.
Right.
And
if you stay around long enough, you will make bad material.
Yeah. Most of these guys have stayed around enough to make bad material because it's a catalog conversation. That's why Biggie's not in this conversation.
Reggie says Radio by LL is not a classic.
No.
What? Nah, I'm disagreeing with you there. You know what?
I don't think. I mean,
we have to factor in the timing too. Like, it's hard to really go out there and compare a record like a radio.
I would think Raising Hell more than Radio, if we're gonna
really
from that. Yeah, Raising Hell over Radio. Raising Hell has more hits and it's a better produced album. It is.
Can I say something controversial before we get into all this?
Okay.
Run DMC's music did not age well.
Who?
Run DMC's music did not age well.
I mean,
after Rakim came and KRS came, they were obsolete. They literally, and I know people hate when I say this, it sounds disrespectful, they turned into dinosaurs overnight.
No, Mike, people are used to you being disrespectful at this point for the people that follow us. It's not a problem for any of them at all. So the next thing that I went to after that is so that's how I broke down the album. So the albums are broken down into 3 segments. And so pretty much the people who I kind of rise top of the list were the people who had made the most classic, great, and good albums.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I got into who has made the most who has at least, and here was the qualifier for me, Mike, for my top 5. Right. You had to have made at least 10 singles. Released 10 singles that like it shows like in history was released as a single that's either considered to be a great song or a hip hop classic. And when you start talking about that, Mike, very few artists have that.
10 singles that were a hip hop classic.
Or just great, like great for its time.
Okay.
Like I'm not going to take anything away from, like, we talked about Hard Knock Life and Hate Me Now. I'm not going to take anything away from either one of those songs. I listened to both of those songs this week. I think they're both slightly dated, but still great for their time and still very important and worthy of being a single. And important in the album sales in multi-platinum albums in the mid '90s for that. So I gave those songs their flowers and their just due. Like those records don't sound horrible, Mike. Like I know what you're talking about with the people coming at you about Nas. I think a lot of it was because Hate Me Now. Like I don't think Hate Me Now is dated as you think it is, and I think a lot of people agreed with me on that. And I think people got at you kind of about the Hate Me Now thing.
You know, I remember listening to Hate Me Now when it first actually came on the radio. I think it was Greg Street out here in Atlanta that played it. And I remember that sample just being so big and so massive, and then you heard Puff on there. I was like, oh shit, Nas is dope. Yeah, and it's like I guess I don't expect to feel the same way anymore. But it's like, yeah, it just doesn't make me feel the way that even Thief's theme makes me feel. Like, and that's the thing with Nas.
It's different. That's because that's the Nas that you want to hear. But I'll tell you this, Mike, in terms of a feeling, no Nas song ever really banged in the club the way Hate Me Now did. And it's funny that we're even talking about Hate Me Now because somebody was telling me today that used to be their theme music when they walked in the club.
Well, I could see that.
Yeah.
Because, it's one of those records. You know what I mean? Right. I hate to keep looking down, but I'm letting everybody know we live. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. And so after that, I looked at, well, who's made the most, what I would say, either street anthems or classic album tracks. And there are a lot of people that have done that, and that's where it gets, like, a little bit tougher to see. But there are very few, like, artists that have made, like, consistently. How about this? There are very few artists that have made more great and classic and good material than they have not, and then also have made 10 hit records that are like verifiable hit records or classics to go with it, and then have like the street catalog or the album track catalog to go with it.
Right.
So I kind of based it on those things. I put half of the weight on the album catalog though, because I feel like that's what matters most. Because I look at the album as a timepiece. It's easy to lose songs.
And you know what? And I think that's why you left LL off. And I think LL is one of those guys that doesn't have the album strength that a lot of his peers have, but single-wise, there's not many people who have a catalog that rivals his. Raven 210 says, caught the live, love the show, love y'all perspective. 81, baby, salute from Texas. Keep it going. Shout out to Texas, man. Too. Y'all hold it down over there in Texas, too. I know y'all got it.
Yeah. Y'all
got it rough right now.
My sister's in Texas. Shout out to everybody in Texas. Like, we're going to stay prayed up for y'all.
Oh, man. Reggie says, wonder if DMX made the list.
For catalog?
That's what I say.
How can we do that? I'm asking questions.
Man. Who's being disrespectful tonight? Okay. All right. So, so at number 10, you got KRS, right? Number 10, you got KRS.
Yeah, number 10, I got KRS. Number 9, Mike, I got Rick Ross.
Whoa. Okay. Well, for a lot of people, that's going to throw people off.
You want to know why?
I want to know why.
I'm going to tell you why, too, because, like I said, when I started looking at classic, great, and good albums, not a lot of classic, but a lot of great and good albums. Mostly good, some great. Hey, let me ask you something right quick. Do you think God Forgives and I Don't is a classic? Because I think that's his best album.
I don't think it's a classic, but I do think it is his best album. I guess it depends on who you ask, because I do think that it takes me back to a time period. You know what I mean? I was in Miami a lot at that point, you know?
I think it's the closest thing to it, but here's what I'm going to tell you. He's been wildly consistent at making the street anthem and the classic single, a la Biggie.
Well, let's do this. And I know you got your catalog, the way you're doing it, you already outlined how you're doing it, rather. But let's be real. We saw what happened in the Versus with Rick Ross and the catalog that he had.
Ross ain't nothing to play with.
And he said that, he had 20 more new ones for somebody else. So let's be real. Like, who really would want to see Rick Ross in a versus? And and catalog wise, I mean, we have to consider these collaborations. A lot of these guys use a lot of these Drake records, and well, we'll get to Drake in a minute, but yeah, I mean, it's very
Did
tough.
Drake make your top 10? Did Drake make your top 10?
He actually did. I had to
Oh
be.
no, there'll be none of that over here.
Hmm.
I said there'll be none of that over here.
No, I feel you. I ain't mad at that, but I just had to. I mean, if I got LL in there, there's no way that I couldn't, act like Drake's records aren't important.
What kind of list are you making? You're right. I am being disrespectful tonight.
I think
that is.
I think we're looking at the catalogs in two different ways, which is cool. I think you're focused more so on the albums, and I'm more so on the songs. Yeah.
You are. I mean, that's obvious because you brought up Drake and LL, and I'm bringing up KRS and Rick Ross.
Yeah. I mean, all right. Let's just keep it real. What's the last important KRS-One record that came out?
Important? Probably Step Into a World, but that was what, 99, 2000?
That was 97. That was a good 24 years ago.
Okay, so that he was still probably 12, 13, 14 years into his career, though. So he had still already had a lengthy career up until that point.
But I'm talking, but you got guys like Ross. I mean, how many years is he into his career? Rick Ross came out in what, like 05?
Mike, I have Ross ahead of KRS.
Yeah, you do. I'm just saying. Do you have Lil Wayne on your list?
No.
Do you have T.I. on your list?
No, those were the guys. Hold on. Those were the guys that literally fell right after Common and LL. Yeah. Actually went Common, LL, T.I., Wayne.
Okay. All right. So we got Rick Ross at 9.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate a little bit more on that, or you want to go to number 8?
I mean, no. I mean, Mike, just go. I mean, go check the records.
No. I'm with you. I think Rick Ross has an incredible catalog. I think, I think that the debate was him or Game, right? And I think Game has so much help with his catalog that it would make me put Rick Ross above him. But I think Game has one of the more underappreciated catalogs.
How about this? When Ross is getting help, it feels like Ross is the orchestrator of the help. Does it not?
He does.
Game gets help, it feels like he's getting help.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. And we talked about KRS's last, big smash being in 97. What would you say to somebody that feels that Kendrick's catalog should be ahead of KRS's? I mean, if we're talking, record for record, quality for quality or whatnot, or J. Cole.
Kendrick was one of the guys that I looked at that I realized it's like, he really hasn't done a lot of work now that we're looking at it, Mike.
You don't think so? I'm counting Overly Dedicated. I'm counting, Section 80 too.
I mean, everybody that I'm talking about, Mike, has at least everybody that made my list, except for I think Tupac and Ice Cube, have at least 10 solo projects, at least.
Is that how many Rick Ross has now? Yeah, he's at 10. Wow.
That's what I mean. Like Ross has been doing this for a minute, and Mike, I put Ross at 9 because when I look at my list, Ross has more hits than everybody who's on my list. I know for certain, and I would have for certain except for Kanye or Jay, and I think he might have them at this point. That was one of the things that was surprising to me. He might have more hits than anybody on this list. Like if we're talking, because he's been making, because he makes a couple of hits a year.
Mm-hmm. Reggie says, "Are you guys talking about music? Are you guys taking the music technology available to the artists during the different eras? Are you taking that into account? Will Ross be an artist, be the artist that he is during the LL and KRS era?" I think that is a decent point and a good question. Like, I think we know that Kendrick would have been able to survive in any era. Would Ross be this good if he was in the era that LL and KRS were thriving in? by your estimation?
I really like the question. I think that's actually, I was actually thinking to myself, that's one of the better questions we've ever gotten since we've started doing this show. That's an excellent question. What I would say is what immediately came to my mind is that I think that Fat Joe is somebody who comes to mind. I think Rick Ross could be somebody like a Fat Joe, somebody who starts off, who kind of has something to him and has an appeal and gets on and evolves and becomes a great MC and hit maker. So he may not be the overall titan that he is for this era, but I think he is somebody that would still like make a name for himself and become viable, a la a Fat Joe. How about that?
I think that's fair. But I mean, like you said, Fat Joe didn't really dominate in the '90s era. I mean, he had some really good quality records. I think Rick Ross would be a step above that. I mean, we have to think about somebody whose production ear kind of supersedes their, lyrical ability. And I guess you could put Fat Joe in that too, because Fat Joe's production's always been very consistent. Those Terror Squad albums, the Don Cartagena album was well produced.
I like
Crack.
Don Cartagena,
I love that
Mike.
album.
That's the album that I was thinking about, Mike. Don Cartagena was the album when I was like, oh shit, Joe can spit.
I always thought Joe was underappreciated when it came to that. But I think that is a good question, because if we're talking about putting people in, that 10 arena, you do have to factor in those things. But, I think that we kind of ran into this with the top 5 that we have on YouTube. You did a great job with that, by the way. And we got more to come. We ran into that with the top 5 sophomore albums, right? And, when we were discussing the top 5 sophomore albums, I saw one person in the comment section say top 5 sophomore albums of the 90s. And so, when you start, factoring in all these things, you end up in one era, because let's just be real. Lyrically and, the lyrical veracity and the tons of hip-hop classics that came, the 90s kind of stands on its own, right? I mean, are we all in agreement with that?
Well, I mean, we left a lot of great 90s albums off, like It Was Written, ATLiens,
the number one record came from the 80s, but, it is what it is. People are going to say what they're going to say.
And also, too, I like the only thing that I would say is that if Good Kid, Mad City, Good Kid, Mad City is only sophomore album I can think of. Am I wrong, Mike?
We're talking...
Yeah.
In terms of what we consider a sophomore album now, and we talked about this, too, when we were concocting this list, it's different because there's so many mixtapes. You don't know really what to qualify as an album and a mixtape or whatever. And it's really different when somebody's putting together their sophomore effort and they haven't put together a follow-up mixtape from their debut and they've been doing other works. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Blake Griffin's rookie year when he was hurt the whole year, but he was traveling and working out with the team. But when he did his full season, he's still classified as a rookie. You're not the same rookie as somebody just coming out of college who's just now seeing all this stuff for the first time. So that's kind of what people's sophomore efforts are like now. And the ones that came in the 90s were like, really, this is my second album for real. This is my second time going in the studio following up something for real. So, yeah. I think that's why it's really harder to really qualify some of the albums in, more current eras when it comes to sophomore efforts, because we don't even know what Kendrick's sophomore effort really is.
We're still arguing about it today.
Yeah, we are.
That is some of the conundrum with it. That is some of the conundrum.
Some would say Section 80. Some would say Good Kid, Mad City is technically a sophomore album. Some would say To Pimp a Butterfly is. So,
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. So how many albums has Kendrick made? So let's say what? Overly Dedicated, Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, right?
Yeah. And if you want to count Unmastered, I guess we shouldn't count that. No.
So that's Mike, that's 5 projects. That's not enough to get you in with these guys that we're talking about. Like, it's not a question of how great his catalog is in terms of how long he made it. That's why I told you, Mike, when I started listening and started really looking at how guys' catalogs are built. what he does next is very important because here's what I would tell you. Rakim's 5-album run is better than that.
Rakim got 10 albums?
No, but what I'm telling you is that no, he doesn't. But what I'm telling you is that go listen to Rakim's first 5 albums. Go listen to Kendrick's first 5 albums. It's not even really much of a conversation. And you want to know what's funny where it's not a conversation? Singles. The actual hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where Kendrick lacks, to be honest. You know, the hit guy in this era. See, this era is so different, but the hit guy in this era is Drake. But I don't think the hits, because radio doesn't matter the way it used to. And I feel like if radio did matter, Kendrick would have hits. You know what I mean?
So, Mike, so what do you call a hit? Because here's what I mean when I said it either needs to be a classic hit or a classic hip-hop song.
Mm-hmm.
Because something like It Ain't Hard to Tell or Nas's Like may not be like a classic hit, but those are definitely classic hip-hop records that got released as singles. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I agree.
And they were so great as songs. They were so great as songs that they deserve to be released as singles. And that's what really Kendrick is missing that people are looking at. It's not those big smash hit records. They're maybe not expecting that. But where is the Nas's Like? Where is The World Is Yours? Where is It Ain't Hard to Tell? Where is Made You Look?
I think where Nas in particular and most artists benefit from is the fact that they have a core sound that is true to the essence of their birthplace, their market. I don't think Kendrick has that, and I think that for him to have a cult following as far as like a regional record that means to New York what Nas is Like means, or what It Ain't Hard to Tell, or what Made You Look means, he would have to have more of a West Coast sound. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like the reason why Snoop,
I mean, Mike, because Kendrick reps Compton, Mike.
No, he does, but sonically, you could tell his influences in other places.
I mean, okay, so I mean, like, okay, Mike. By the time Nas had made You Look off Godson, sonically he was in a different place, but he still knew how to go make Made You Look.
But that's New York, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, Mike. That's greatness. That's just like how about this? Like, Big Boy's not doing the Outkast records anymore, but he still know how to go make Kill Jill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're great, you can transition your greatness certain types of ways and still make great records.
Well, Humble was a hit, but you know, it's.
I mean, I guess. I mean, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want.
I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It was more of a hit because he had a rep by then. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like nobody. I mean,
it was a hit because of who he was, not because of the song.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
No, I got you. And point taken. Number 7. Mm-hmm. What are you at 8, right?
No, I mean, we were talking about Pac. I had Tupac at number 8. So.
Ooh, okay.
The only people that made it in here that had short catalogs, literally, were Tupac, Ice Cube, and Rakim. And that was about the importance and the brevity of their catalog. But one thing that I realized, it's the strength of their records and the way that the records have held up over a course of time. Like, I was astonished at how inconsistent Pac could be, and how he was making like these wonderful, like he was making masterful songs like around sometimes inconsistent records, Mike. It made you wonder like what was really going on with him, because it's like, go listen to Strictly for My Niggas. It's like one of the most beautiful inconsistent records you'll ever hear, because you can hear how great he is and how great he can be, and you can hear when he hits the mark. I Get Around, Keep Your Head Up. There's a couple of other records on there. But it's like, Mike, when he hits it, and he does something, and it's one of those, and he makes records that stay with you forever. And him and Rakim are the only guys that I can really say that are making the type of records, and made the type of records, even if it's only for over a 3, 4, 5 album period, that have literally stayed with us forever.
Well, I think because they're both probably the most impactful MCs to ever do it. And, you know, and I think like you said with KRS, I think that when you hit people on a content level, I mean, the records just age much better. You know, it's like there are a few things musically that people will always be able to relate to, and that's love and, disparities and, just those type of struggles, I guess you would say.
Right.
Because you can relate to love in any era. Like you can hear a love song from the '60s, '70s, and it means the same thing now.
Okay, how about this? You remember Temptations off Me Against the World?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, so like that's one of like Pac's, like if you were making a Pac's greatest hits list, like in order of the greatness of the songs, that song as far as his singles would probably fall at like 10 or 11.
I love
Like,
that song too, by the way.
and I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. In a very brief amount of time, he made a lot of classic hit records that were also classic hip hop songs at the same time type of records that stayed with you. And I'm gonna go to Kendrick again. It's like Mike Kendrick doesn't even have too many singles that bang like Temptations does. That's not even one of Pac's best singles. That's not even one of the records he's remembered for.
And you know what I will say about Pac too, while we're talking about Kendrick, because at the time, hip hop just wasn't on the radio like that. And I would say Dre, Snoop, and Pac really changed the wave of radio, bringing hip hop into rotation. It wasn't just a late night thing anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like they got into some drive time when it came to Pac, Big, Dre, and Snoop's records.
I think Pac was super important because that's what I mean. Pac made the type of records that you just couldn't deny it deserved to be heard. Like Brenda's Got a Baby maybe shouldn't be a single, but even for some white A&R exec in like 1989, 1990, sitting in an office in New York or LA can see like, no, this guy's voice needs to be heard. We need to put this out. So he still has records like that. Now, so those are his flowers. Now, here's what else I'm going to tell you, Mike. He don't deserve to be on this list if he don't make All Eyes on Me, though.
No, Nia, what's your take on All Eyes on Me? Because a lot of Pac fans are more Me Against the World's his best effort, and I've heard people say Machiavelli's like number 1 or 2. Some people just aren't super high on All Eyes on Me, but I think it's his best effort in my opinion.
I get what people saying when they're talking about Me Against the World. That's the Pac that. How about this? That's the Pac that stays with you.
Yeah.
The Me Against the World Pac is the Pac that stays with you. If you know that Pac, listen to that Pac. That's the Pac that really stays with you. Oh, my bad, Mike.
No, it's all good.
That's the Pac. That's the Pac that stays with you. But if we're just talking about the greatness of the songs, Mike, because of the production that Death Row could provide him on All Eyes on Me.
Yeah, the production is somewhere else, and that's what I'm a fan of on those.
Somewhere else, like he's fresh out of jail, but that's still Pac. Like the Pac that's on Me Against the World. Oh, he's still on All Eyes on Me too. It's just that this nigga done been to jail for something that he feel like he ain't did. He done been shot about something that he ain't did. So he's probably a little pissed off.
He's angry. Yeah.
He's angry. And quite frankly, they gave him production that reflected his fury. And for as furious as it was, this is the most beautiful music he ever made in terms of the quality of the records, because they finally had production that can match his intensity and match his words. He's walking in there. He's like, oh, I need DJ Quick. They like, okay, cool. Dre's around the corner. Daz is around the corner. He literally has access to some of the best producers the West Coast has ever seen at his disposal. And they're not only at his disposal, he's the guy everybody's wanting to give a record to.
Yeah. And you know what? You kind of touched on this in the previous episode. We were talking about life after death and its balance and the barriers that it broke as far as like album structure, moving forward on hip hop albums. But when you think about that balance that Pac had on All Eyes on Me, that was incredible balance from being able to do Ambitions of a Rider to, It's All About You, to being able to do I Ain't Mad at You is what I was thinking about. California Love to, I mean, the range on there, he gave you all the range, and we knew he had it, and you heard it in other records, but it was just totally amplified because, like you said, you were working with the top-notch producers of that
I got,
era in that region.
hold on. I think that album of all probably of any hip hop classic album that's ever been made, Mike, All Eyes on Me might be the one album that speaks to why production is important to the artist. Because as soon as he got the best production of the year, he made the best music of his career. The
I'm gonna say
talent was
this,
there.
man.
The talent was there. The talent had been there. He had been Mike, he had already made literally a lot of classic hip hop
Mm-hmm.
records before he even made All Eyes on Me without making a consistently what how about this, Mike?
Dear
Me Against the
Mama,
World.
we talk about
Yeah.
how unimpressive beat wise the production is on Dear Mama, and that's no disrespect. It just shows how great this man was in making a
So
track that other artists probably would have made, an album song with. He took this
so
track and made a classic.
so listen to what you just said. So I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Dear Mama still to this day one of the 5 or 10 best hip hop songs ever made?
Definitely, it's definitely top 10.
Mike, and the beat's not dope. That's how
Mm-mm.
great he is. He made one of the 10 best hip hop songs
Yeah.
ever, and the beat's not even really that good, Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You listen to in '96. We all know that so many seminal records came out in '96. It was a very, I don't want to say top heavy, but it was just very deep. Like it had some deep
It
classic
might be the best
albums.
year ever, head to toe.
It might
Head to
be.
toe, best
It
year
might
ever.
be from top to bottom. The depth of the albums that came out in hip hop, it's crazy. But what I will say about All Eyes on Me, when you listen to that album and you listen to everything that came out around it, it sounds light years ahead.
Yeah.
Sonically,
Yeah.
it just does.
Yeah.
Like when you listen to Bring No
how
More
about this?
Pain, that shit sounds
90.
like it wasn't made in
That
'96.
sounds like, you know what? How about like you know what No More Pain sounds like? That shit sounds like Up Jumps the Boogie that Timberland, Aaliyah, and Missy made like 5-6 years later. Like,
But
yeah,
but Timberland made that, right?
I told you. I feel like I've
I've
heard
always
stories.
felt like that.
Well, here's the thing. You know, he worked in the basement
Yeah.
camp with Devontae. Devontae's the one that did that track. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know, so but when you're hearing it, but Mike, that's not the only beat on there that's like futuristic. 96 was a great place beat style and rhyme wise to be stuck in, but All Eyes on Me does stand out production wise because
Mhm.
it is ahead of its time. But look at Mike, I told you, Mike, like you know, like even when they did the movie, Mike, it's like when they sat Dr. Dre in front of that board, it was like game over, dude.
Is
Like,
it me or do you? I mean, I like the California Love remix better.
you talking about the one that's not on the album?
The one that is on the album. I actually like that one better than the one that was on the radio.
Oh no, Mike, you're wrong.
Okay.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. But I mean, but either way, both versions are dope. Yeah. But
Man,
I think
that
you're
was for a lot of people, especially with a record that's that big. Back then, you would want to go buy a record and then think that the record that you heard on the radio was on there. You're like, where is the California Love I've been hearing?
No, Mike. When I first heard it, I was pissed off because I loved that record.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dre C says Tim did the drums, Devontae did the keys. I believe that.
There we go.
Because
but but isn't it the drums that kind of make that song sound a little like next level and
It is.
revolutionary to you?
I feel like that womp womp womp. That sounds like Timberland too. That sounds like some sounds that were used on Super Duper Fly actually.
I mean, you want to give Devontae the keys? I'm going to give you that.
Yeah.
Charlotte Brown.
Great record. Actually, it's one of my favorite records on there. All right, so
I think it's arguably the best record on there. That and Ambitions of the Rider,
mm-hmm.
and it's one of the 10 to 15 best songs he ever made, which is saying a lot.
More impactful, All Eyes on Me or Life After Death, in retrospect?
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about, I've always said, if you want to talk about emceeing and being a rapper and the craft of emceeing,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to talk about Biggie versus Tupac, the answer is Biggie. If you want to talk about what hip-hop is, what our culture is, what it is to be a black man in America, then Tupac is going to be the answer. So it depends on which level that you're asking the question.
You know what?
If we're sticking to the music, Life After Death is more important because, like I said, it is arguably the best performance on the mic of all time in terms of what he did versatility-wise. But if we're talking about what's more important culturally to us, it is All Eyes on Me because of everything that Pac had been through, and that being what ended up being his seminal moment in
Was
legacy.
it though?
And the Pac that we remember, whether people like to admit it or not, that's the Pac that's gotten remembered too.
You're right. Now that I agree, and it's a real interesting dichotomy in the fact that that is the Pac image-wise we remember, but message-wise we remember the Me Against the World Pac. You know what I'm saying? And actually, musically, I feel like the songs on Me Against the World, the singles and the ones that were highly revered, have had more legs than some of the All Eyes on Me records. I don't think those are some of his most important records.
Hold on. You want to know why?
Why?
Because it's like I keep on saying, the content carries. So let's look at the singles on Me Against the World versus All Eyes on Me. We're talking about Temptations, Dear Mama, So Many Tears.
Yeah.
Those are very, very in-depth and personal records. Even Temptations is in-depth and personal if you're listening to the words that he's saying.
I love that record.
I love Temptations.
Yeah.
Now let's go. Hold on. Now let's go to All Eyes on Me. We have California Love, How Do You Want It, and I Ain't Mad at You. You see, the reflective record didn't come until the third single. Yeah. Everything on Me Against the World is reflective.
Yeah.
So the content is different. That's why
it was Death Row, man. It was Death Row. And honestly, I don't even. And I think that for me, I mean, is highly, as much as I love All Eyes on Me, it's where it reflects on his overall legacy. It's not the same because it's attached with Death Row now, and Death Row's overall legacy is Chronic, Doggy Style, and unfortunately, All Eyes on Me falls into that whole thing where this is the end of Death Row. Like, All Eyes on Me kind of marked the end of Death Row. Do you agree? That was the last time we really heard Dr. Dre with Death Row.
No.
And when Dr. Dre was gone, it was over.
No, you're right. Unfortunately.
And I think that is one of the things that we carry with that album. It almost feels like, Death Row died with Pac. You want to,
yeah. You want to know what, Mike? I was actually just thinking about it too. The best lyrical performance on All Eyes on Me, in my opinion, was always I Ain't Mad at You, which is the most introspective record.
Shawty Want to Be a Thug?
No.
I like the Only God Can Judge Me.
Now, we was once two niggas of the same kind. Yeah. Quick to holler. Come on, Mike.
Yeah.
You don't even gotta. Everybody know those bars, Mike.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody knows those bars.
That's Mike. Me Against the World Pac right there.
That's Me Against the World Pac.
Yeah.
With hold on, with all of the Death Row amenities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a moment.
It was an all hands on deck thing. All right, so you got Tupac at what was that? 8?
8.
Okay.
Yep.
Who you got at 7?
We got to speed up. We taking all night.
Yeah.
Ghostface is 7.
We get on our tangents. All right, so we got Ghost at 7. All right. Ghost is my favorite rapper. I love this.
I already know.
I love him being there.
I'll let you give Ghost all his props. Yeah, go ahead. Give Ghost everything he needs.
I mean, he's a superhero MC. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like listening to a Marvel comic book over hip-hop beats or something.
No, he's a superhero. He's a superhero that could fire this list if he would make some hit singles, because I think song for song, nobody may be better.
This is what I will say about that hit single thing, and I know that I was harping on a lot of hit singles, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because we're talking about my guy, but I think part of the appeal.
Your guy who's my guy too.
I think part of the appeal with a person like Ghostface is the fact that he doesn't have those singles, and I think for people who are real Ghostface fans, we love the fact that most people don't understand what he's saying. But the Ghostface fans do. So it's like, with him, if he were to actually make singles, I think it takes away from him. You remember he did that single with Missy?
Tush.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad record, but fuck, it's Ghost, man. Like, we don't want to hear that from you. Ghost? Andre Shashir says Ghost doesn't get enough credit. Yeah, and Ghost is one of the best storytellers in hip hop.
I just put Ghost ahead of Tupac.
Yeah. No, he wasn't talking about us. He was just talking about in general. But
just in general.
Yeah, but I think that I think Ghostface was like the MF Doom before MF Doom. Rest in peace. But as far as aura goes, you know what I mean?
Okay, aura.
Yeah. And so, and part of that aura is not to have singles. Like before the face got revealed, game got real. Like when the face got revealed, game got real. So he came in the game with a mask on. So it wasn't about being overexposed. And so I get why he doesn't have the singles, but he does show you he does have the ability to make them in the Shay Shay Lagosas and All That I Got Is You. But I think that's just...
But that's after that, Mike.
Yeah.
That's it after that. And so that's the problem. When I was listening to Ghost stuff, I found myself being like, man, this song is great. That song is great. This song is good. That song is great. This song is great. Ghost picked... I'm glad Master Killer's on this track. Ghost called Master Killer to rap on this beat because this is the beat Master Killer need to be rapping on. Ghost putting this shit together. Yeah. And I be feeling like... And here's the thing with a lot of Ghost projects, and if you look at it, Mike, the albums that you... the albums that are the classics, Mike, the certified classics, are the ones that have the two hits that we bought up, and that's Iron Man and Supreme Clientele. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Because all That I Got Is You and La Shay Shay Goes, they give both of those albums some quality and some depth and some insight and some feel good on their different ways and different levels that make you connect to Ghost on a different level, and it's still a hit. It means he has the ability to do it, and it hasn't been done enough. And that's just it with that, because we don't give any other guys that we talk about on the level of Ghost those types of excuses. Do we?
Proceed with caution as you enter the symphony. When you talk about those singles or whatnot, man,
no, I was asking the question. I really want to know, do we give anybody else a pass for not having like these hit records? Because it's like, you want to talk about something like Hate Me Now, but at least Nas made Hate Me Now, and it was a big monster hit when he made it. And it helped I Am go triple platinum.
And I think that's the thing though, we were talking about this last week when we were talking about Jay and Nas and how we even got into that discussion. I think certain people who are in that greatest of all time discussion get held to that standard. I think the other person that we don't hold to that standard who should be in that conversation is Scarface. We don't look for singles from Scarface, really. He has them.
Okay.
But we don't look for them for him. And I think that again, that's why he doesn't show up in all these discussions that he should. Because the singles are blaring, you know what I mean? I think KRS-One is another one where we don't look for even an Eric B. as president from KRS. We don't even look for, you know what I mean? Like, he got some, but,
okay.
Huh?
I mean,
not a lot.
Mike, when you be talking sometimes, I want you to understand how unfair you are. You be like, okay, so KRS-One don't have no Eric B. as president. It's like, don't nobody have no Eric B. as president.
Okay, paid in full. I ain't no joke.
Eric B. I'm like, Mike, Eric B. as president changed rap, Mike. Like, literally, as in the way people rap. Like, that's the record of all of those records on Paid in Full that people heard that made them rap different and made them look at him and be like, oh, shit. Like,
does KRS have a I ain't no joke then?
I mean, wouldn't you consider my philosophy or my 9mm goes bang to be on par?
My philosophy is definitely on par.
Okay.
Definitely.
So then, yeah.
Yeah.
Love's gonna get you. Not necessarily with I Ain't No Joke, but KRS got some records that's going.
KRS got bangers.
It's not better than Rakim's best bangers, but he's there, and that's why he's like at 10. Because I don't think people understand that, like, for his time, like, if you actually want to talk about bangers, that's what I mean, like, even in the early 90s, KRS made a lot of bangers. Like
You
Black
know,
Cop,
you remember when
Oh Yeah,
we talked about this summer, I think, when he
Rappers
said that he
Are in
would do
Danger,
rappers are in danger. Yeah, MCs act like they don't
MCs
know.
Act Like They Don't Know.
Yeah, I mean, he said that he would do a versus against LL, and I think it would have been very good. LL kind of was like, I don't think that's the matchup for me, but I'm like, I don't know, man.
They'll be in a little bit of trouble, Mike.
I think so too.
You want to know what, Mike? Somebody told me something.
What's
That
that?
watches our podcast. They said I need to stop bringing up the fact that most of Primo's heat, is with just Nas, Big, and Jay. They was like, you need to put those KRS and Rakim records in there too, Coop.
What was the
like,
When I Be on the Mic was dope.
We're gonna get to that in a minute. We're actually gonna get to that record in a minute. But
let me get to the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Danny says Bulletproof Wallace was a banger. Ghostface killed special delivery. Yes, he did. Jay Gus says Ghostface is top 10 for me. I agree. Reggie said don't sleep on Poetry and Black Cop. Yeah, Black Cop was a banger too.
Poetry. Ooh,
Yeah.
He's right. Poetry. Yes.
Love's Gonna Get You. What's the record I'm thinking about? It was on Boogie Down Productions' final album, Sex and Violence. Duck Down is what I'm thinking about. That record was crazy.
I can't recall it offhand. I might have to go back and listen.
Duck Down was
check
crazy.
and see. But mostly Ghost ended up at number 7, Mike, because he's probably the most consistent songmaker in rap history. Whether he has help or he doesn't has help, he makes a consistently great song. He just doesn't have enough hits to put him in the top 5.
Do you factor in his Wu-Tang work when you say catalog?
I tried to leave it out as best that I could because I
Why?
felt like because it's kind of like unfair advantage for the amount of great work that he's done with him versus what these other guys have had a chance to do, even for the guys that have been in a group. Like, Scott LaRock got murdered. Like Ice Cube was getting screwed by NWA. You know what I'm saying? Nas and Jay and Rakim never really belonged to a group. Face was really the face of Ghetto Boys anyway, and was writing the stuff and was thinking, why don't I just make all this money solo?
Well, how many great albums does Wu-Tang really have, though?
It's not really about the album sometimes when it comes to that. It goes into the importance of the material. That's what I mean. I tried to leave the Wu-Tang stuff out because Ghost is on a lot of important Wu-Tang records. I mean, Purple Tape 1, Purple Tape 2, Liquid Swords. Like, he's on all the classic albums or has made the classic albums.
You're talking about that. I was talking about, like, group albums. I was talking about, like, Enter the 36 and Wu-Tang Forever.
Even with Enter the Wu-Tang, Mike, I thought about putting Ghost in there because Can It Be All So Simple still might be his most important single.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, KRS on Mad-isms. That was a banger, too.
Mad-isms with Channel Live. That's what
that was great. Yo, he killed that shit. You know what? I love when people jump on records and show their dominance like that. He showed that, I'm KRS and everybody else is just, a nice MC.
Okay, so Mike, at the time that KRS One dropped Mad-ism, the only person that people really thought were better than KRS all time were Rakim and maybe Kane.
Yeah. I've always thought that,
for a very good reason. For a very good reason.
Kane is extremely dope, but I've always thought that KRS was the better of the two. I've
always preferred KRS, but I see why people love Kane so much.
Me too.
For the same reason that you like Big is the same reason that you like Kane. It's the same.
Yeah. Kane could do things that KRS couldn't do. Definitely.
Right.
And I think that Kane would probably have a easier time doing what KRS does than vice versa.
Yes.
Yes. We've heard LL kind of, I don't want to say channel Kane some, but I felt like Around the Way Girl and Booming System and even Jingling Baby remix. LL had a lot of real Kane vibes going on those records. And so you could kind of tell that Kane's influence was strong. And, we've always talked about the fact that people feel like Rakim wrote Summertime. Yeah, and, I don't think Rakim wrote Summertime. I just think that, Will was trying to sound like Rakim. It is what it is.
I'm not even going to do it with you.
What?
I got Ice Cube at number 6.
Okay.
And Ice Cube probably should be higher and would be higher, and he would be over the guy over number 5, except for I found out something very fascinating today. The guy I have at number 5 has more hit singles, actually, than the guy that I have at number 6. When you're saying Scarface hasn't made hits, he actually has. He's actually made more than Ice Cube. It's just we look at Cube differently. The only real big singles Cube actually ever had were Good Day, Pop Gun, and We Be Clubbin'.
Really?
The rest of his singles never really, you know what I mean?
You know how we do it?
Huh?
You know how we do it?
That's Bop Gun. You know how we do it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So Mike, look at those 3 songs. So look what I got. Hold on. I already got
Who's the Mac?
right here. Yeah. Okay. Who's the Mac? Who's the Mac would be the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
But how big was Who's the Mac really, Mike? How great is that? Like,
what about Steady Mobbin'? Steady Mobbin' was,
Okay, I'm gonna give you that. But okay. So when I put. So I got Face at 5, so we can go ahead and start getting into my top 5, but I'm going to tell you why. Ice Cube, stopped recording, whereas Face took a 7-year break and resumed recording and made 2 more projects. Mm-hmm. Both of those projects are great projects.
Yeah.
So it kind of faded off, but like the next thing that he did, like Face's last 2 projects are some of his consistent and some of his best work, and that's for somebody who's really been widely known for being consistent their whole career. So Face has been more consistent. He has a deeper catalog, and Mike, he's actually made more and better singles. And so, you want me to just start with my top 5?
I want to ask you 2 questions. I'm gonna get to Reggie's comment. He said, "Was Ice Cube's last good album Death Certificate?"
The Predator.
Yeah, I think The Predator. But all right, this is my question.
War and Peace was solid.
It was solid. Can you rattle off some of Scarface's hits that made you feel this?
That's what I was about to say. Do you remember So I think people forget this. Scarface is known for his consistency, but he actually had a misstep early on. It's his first album that's really, really great, and his second album is just okay, and then he made The Diary and Run Started. So Scarface is Back is a really, really great album.
Mike, I love that. It's actually my favorite, personally.
Mike, I listened to Mr. Scarface is Back and I actually said, remember when I said DMX is dark and hell is hot is the hardest shit ever and it's not a question?
Nah. Yeah.
It's still the hardest shit ever, but it is a question, and it's
Mr. Scarface. Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's a hard-ass album, man.
Mike, I mean, I haven't listened to that album from beginning to end in a while. I mean, Mike, I'm just a different type of dude now. It's like I was uncomfortable listening to some of the stuff. I was like, I know Face don't listen to this album no more.
I mean, he he pretty much put it out there that he mentally wasn't in a good place when he made that. So,
duh.
Yeah.
Like if ever some shit was obvious.
Yeah.
That you deal with
I'm
somebody
dead. Like, that's a minute to pray, a second to die is a movie.
Mike, that's what I got written on the list. It's second on the list. A minute to pray, a second to die.
That shit is crazy.
A single. Mike, that was a single.
That was a single.
That was a single. Mike, guess what else I found out today was a single? Because, Mike, we were kids. We were literally kids when this was coming out. So when we hear this stuff when we're older, we really don't know it's the single. Let's go check. Mike, guess what else was the other single? Mr. Scarface is Back.
Was that the single?
Mr. Scarface is Back in A Minute to Pray and A Second to Die were the singles, Mike.
Those are the 2 singles.
Those are the 2 singles.
I'm looking at the track list right now. What record was it? It was The Pimp. You got Born Killer. Murder by Reason of Insanity. Diary of a Madman. Body Snatchers. This was a wild album, man.
So Mike, that's just off the first album. So you're asking like where is singles at? You remember those records. Look at us talking about those records right now.
So you said The World Is Yours was a misstep.
Yeah. In terms of when you look at his catalog, it's a misstep. It's one of those albums that kind of falls more in the end.
Now I Feel You was a dope record.
I got Now I Feel You as one of his like classic. Mike, Now I Feel You is at the top of my list of his classic album records. You know your face shit. I love you, dude.
I
Like,
mean, Let Me
you know your
Roll.
face shit. Okay, so Mike, Let Me Roll was the only single that got some playoff there because the
Yeah.
album really wasn't received well because it wasn't good. So Let Me Roll was another single. So Mike, Mike, those are 3 singles that I've listed already that you know very well. And we haven't even got to his epic stuff. Mike,
Yeah.
I Seen a Man Die and Hand of the Dead Body.
Yeah, man.
Mike, so Mike, in terms of singles, he's already got Cube right there.
Yeah.
And Mike.
And we haven't even gone to like Sex Faces and, you know.
Mike,
yeah.
Go ahead. Smile. And
Smile.
Mary Jane.
I forgot about Smile.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Smile's
Mike,
a big one. Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah.
My Block Off the Fix.
Guess who's back? I mean.
Mike, Guess Who's Back?
Yeah. Who you think had the best verse on there?
Ooh.
It's always fun to say that with those 3 on the record.
Actually, I'm gonna tell you what. I like Face's verses on there because you could tell Face was kind of stepping into another realm a little bit, but he maintained who he was. You know what I mean? I'm out here grind mode, wrapped up in the paper chase. I'm trying to fuck a fine hoe in candy paper 88. I ain't got no wholesale because I ain't how I want to run it. Here, take these 5 stones and bring a nigga back 100.
You know,
Face bananas.
He killed that, man, but I don't know, man.
That's that block shit. That's that block shit that you know he's really from the block that like niggas can relate that other cats really don't be doing even if they like from the street. Like that's where he resonates. And for him to get on a record like that with Jay, while Jay where he was and who he was and still be talking like that on a sing.
Jay was at the top of his game and he was talking that street shit too. It's like still smell the crack on my clothes. Don't make me have to relapse on these hoes. Take it back when I was taxing rolls. And I was thugging it. Niggas couldn't do nothing with it. Straight from the oven with it. Came out the dirt. I merged that at all without a stain on my shirt. You could blame my old Yeah, I think he got that one. You know, and usually when those 3 are on the record.
It's usually his delivery, but I actually like the way Face is flipping his words on the beat because my degree of difficulty matters to me a lot.
Yeah.
That beat, pace-wise, is more built for Jay and Beans. That's not built for a dude from Houston, Texas. Face don't rap on beats that fast.
Yeah. The shit she instilled in me, still with me. Pain plus work. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, but he was working with Kanye a good amount on that album, too. So maybe... But that had just started. That's what I'm saying. Jay and Beans are used to that beats per minute, used to that sound, used to that style. He stepped into it, and you can tell, like, he just played with his flow, but he caught it real soon. Like, it was, So we got to give Kanye some...
degree of difficulty. Hold on, I'm giving it to him because of degree of difficulty, but Mike, you could pick any one of those 3 verses, and you wouldn't be wrong. Yeah.
I agree. And the 3 records that those guys did together, I feel like it Can't Be Life. Face got the best verse. Somehow, some way, I think Beans got the best verse. And on Guess Who's Back, I got Jay. So, yeah.
I'll give that to you. You want to know what? That's a fair assessment. I think that's a very fair and accurate assessment.
It just shows you how balanced they are when they're together, man. And like you said, all answers could be right.
It would have been nice to just have them in the studio together for about 2 weeks, just with whoever. Yeah.
You know, I think if we were in today's time and the pace that Jay works at, we would have gotten one of.
They'd be running around together.
Yeah.
No, they'd be running around together making records. Yeah.
Yeah, we would have gotten an album or maybe an EP or something.
How about this? Face would show up on their shit the way Gibbs been showing up on Griselda shit the last couple of years. It would be like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, who you got after that? So Face is 5, right?
So I want to explain why Face is 5 though.
So okay, go ahead.
Let's look at the classic great and good albums, and this is out without bringing up We Can't Be Stopped by the Ghetto Boys. This is just his stuff. You got Mr. Scarface is back. Mike, you just said that's your favorite. That's a classic.
Yeah.
The Diary. That's a classic. I told you, I think that about this.
The Fix is a classic.
What's that album? The Fix is a classic. So we're 3 classics in. And so he's got 3 classics. And let's get to his good and great albums. The Untouchable, Deeply Rooted, Last of a Dying Breed, Emeritus, Made, So, Mike,
Made.
that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Made. Mike, remember
Yeah.
Made? 1, 2. Made was the album he retired off of, left for 7 years, came back and made Deeply Rooted, which was another great album. So, Mike,
Made is
Emeritus
dope.
too. So, I like Emeritus more than Made, but I think they're kind of like on the same level.
Right.
So we got The Diary, The Untouchable, The Fix, Deeply Rooted, Last of a Dying Breed, Emeritus, Made, Mr. Scarf. That's 8 good, great, or classic albums, Mike.
He has an amazing catalog. Amazing catalog.
And the thing that had me worried is that I was worried. It's like it wasn't a question of whether he had the albums or the street tracks. I was wondering if he had the singles, and then I started looking. And I was like, he has the singles. He belongs here.
Yeah, he does.
Listen to the singles that I just laid off. Tell me he doesn't belong here. All right, so when I'm putting him in the top 5 MC and now I'm putting him in the top 5 catalog, he has the catalog, he has the song. And Mike, I want you to understand I'm doing this without bringing up what might be his most popular song, which is Going Down off The Diary. Remember Going Down?
Mm-hmm.
Please excuse my... That might be his most popular song, Mike.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to ask you this, though.
Game Over with Dr. Dre.
Wow. I'm going to ask you this. Why? I know you say you had Common like right outside. How many classic albums do you think Common has? And where, I guess, why wouldn't you consider Common's catalog over some of these people? Because he has the hits. And I know you said because of, him furthering his... Huh?
Hold on. Does he?
He does have the hits. The Light's a hit.
No, okay. That's what I'm saying. I just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I just named 10 Scarface hits.
Okay.
In Face's catalog, Common's not fucking with Face's catalog. That's what I'm saying. That's how he ended up out of here. You got people like Face that got like 8 or 9 good to great or classic albums.
That's true.
You only have about 3 or 4. He has as many hits as you do, and quite frankly, his hits are more impactful because it's like, I don't care. The Light is his most impactful hit.
Yeah.
I Seen a Man Die is Scarface's most impactful hit.
Yeah.
What's the better song, Mike?
Yeah, Scarface got that one, definitely. And, when you think about Smile and all those records, that just puts him in a different
Hold on, Mike. Let Me Roll's a great record. A Minute to Pray, A Second to Die, Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Mike, remember Homies and Thugs, Master P and Tupac?
I love that record. I forgot. You know what? I was going to mention that record, actually.
Come on, Mike. That's what I'm saying, Mike. I was surprised at how many hit records Face had or been involved in. You brought up Fuck Faces. I put that down too.
Yeah.
Like, so he's got it on every level, Mike. He's got the
hits.
He's got the catalog. He's definitely got the street joints and the album records on lock the way Ghost does.
Top Authority says... I'm sorry. Top Authority said Rick Ross. He said Big Boy from Outkast, Ice Cube, LL, Snoop Dogg, and Jay. Now, would you explain to Top Authority, because you did have Rick Ross on your list, why you don't have Snoop Doggy Dogg on your list in this sense?
I don't think he's made enough good to great classic albums to qualify, even though I think Doggy Style is one of the 5 best rap albums ever made. I'm also going to get to, and actually...
What's his second best album?
Probably From the Church to the Palace, Paid to Be the Boss.
Really?
Hold on, no. From the Church to the Palace is off from the Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. Either that, you want to know what Mike? No.
I'm going to say Rhythm and Gangsta, and then Top Dog.
No, Top Dog. You like Top Dog? I was actually thinking the Blue Carpet.
Okay.
How about all of those albums are the same to me, Mike. That's my thing with him. They're all slightly above average. The Blue Carpet Treatment, Rhythm and Gangsta. What's the other one that I just named that had From the Church to the Palace on it?
What was the name of that album? That was the one that had Beautiful on it.
It Cost to Be the Boss.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That had From the Church to the Palace and Beautiful on it. Mike, that had Pimp Slapped on it, which is one of the best diss records of all time.
The Last Meal. Top Authority said The Last Meal was also good. I wasn't a huge fan of The Last Meal. Like I said, I like Top Dog. And you know what we also have to say?
I'm not a big fan of either one of those records that y'all are mentioning, Top Dog or The Last Meal. They're both okay.
I think we all can agree that Snoop Dogg probably has the most disappointing sophomore album in hip hop history, right?
That's only because everybody else that made an album that was comparable. How about this? Remember, I told you I was making my top 100 albums list, and I told you I had Doggy Style at number 4, right? And I had Life After Death at number 5.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm moving Life After Death to number 6. But you're gonna find out why when we get to number 4 in a second. But nobody that's made an album that great has made an album that weak going back. It's like I don't care how much people hate it was written. It was written as a classic and not that far of a fall off from Illmatic. The Dogfather and Doggy, that's a precipitous fall we've never seen.
Well, you know what that is? You know what that fall is, right?
It's Dr. Dre.
It is. It's what it is, you know? I don't think we've ever seen anybody...
That's not totally fair.
What do you mean?
I'm going to tell you why that's not fair. Snoop was still young. You're kind of hazy right now.
Oh, yeah. You paused for a second. Am I back up?
Yeah, no. You're up. You're just like hazy, like you're kind of floating, but it's cool. We'll work with it. No, like I get what you're saying. I think people forget that. Okay, so Snoop, I think, made Deep Cover in 92. He's like 17, 18, right?
Right.
So when the Dogfather is coming out in 95, people are, right? Wasn't it 95? 96?
That was 97. It's
okay,
the
so
break.
When he's coming out,
That's the,
okay, so when he's coming out, so when he's coming out in 97, he's what, 23, 24?
Something like that, yeah.
Mike, he may have still needed Dr. Dre. That's what I don't think people understand. They were signing these dudes, these super young. They didn't even know how to formulate whole songs yet. Even if you go listen to the Chronic and Doggy Style, he might be the lead voice. He might have wrote most of it, but he had a lot of people around him to riff off of and to go off of. And you just kind of drop somebody off at 23, 24 years old that's used to having his team and used to having fucking Dr. Dre.
All right. Like, I'm going to read and I do want to get to Dr. Dre real quick because, I know we're kind of going long, but this is good stuff. We're fleshing it out. Andre Shashir says...
pretty good. We're at number 5.
Andre Shashir says that if Eminem's not on that top 10, his fans are coming for y'all. This is true. Top Authority said it's not his fault. Death Row was a burning building and no quality control. It was 96. It was 96 that it came out. But yeah, it felt like it was 97.
96.
Yeah, it was 96. And, the thing is, he's right. Death Row was a burning building, but it was because of the absence of Dr. Dre. I think that the way that Dr. Dre produces and how much of a control freak he is in the studio, it cripples artists who, have made a record with him and then have to make a record without him. You know what I mean? Because you could tell, even on 2001, right? You could tell he's controlling the way these guys are rhyming. Like, there was a lot of space in those beats. And it was like the syncopated rhyme pattern that people are rhyming with on his beats. You could tell that that's more orchestrated by him. Even in that Compton album, you could tell that he's orchestrating the whole thing. It's like, it's very difficult for somebody to make a record with all that direction that he's giving you. And like you said, already having to make a sophomore album. You're dealing with the sophomore slump. You're dealing with a whole new terrain pretty much. And you're dealing with the shadow of Doggy Style. That's difficult.
I think a couple things come to mind when we say that. First of all, for you all that are bringing up Snoop, understand the same thing happened to the game and under more adverse circumstances, and he's made far superior material post Dr. Dre than Snoop has. And so if somebody deserves to be in this conversation that's being left out of this conversation from the West Coast, it's actually not Kendrick. It's actually not Snoop. It's actually the game. And so you got the right coast. You got the wrong guy not being given his flowers.
Yeah.
Because for somebody who, I mean, you seen that thing that 50 just posted where he's talking about how pretty much he wrote most of the documentary too. I mean, the documentary part 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So here's what I'd have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the Doctor's Advocate and Jesus piece in parts of the documentary part 2 and 2.5 just as much as I enjoy the documentary.
Me too.
I think that's a testament. I think that's a testament to what Game has done post Dr. Dre, which is something 50 and Snoop never did.
That's true. And I think the game has a better catalog than 50 Cent.
And Snoop.
And Snoop. Snoop has Doggy Style, but yes, I agree.
Snoop has him on the hits, and that's the only thing he has him on. He doesn't have him on classic, the great, the good albums. He doesn't have him on consistent records. No, he doesn't. And I love Snoop. Love me some Doggy
Love
Style
Snoop.
and the Crunk.
Snoop
Yeah.
is, he's kind of living off of Doggy Style still, and that's a good thing. The fact that you're able to actually have a piece of work that is so classic and so timeless that even nearing your 50s, you could still be that, keep that image. You know what I'm saying? And he could still
Like,
perform those records, and those records
we're,
rock the same way.
we're, weren't you the one that were telling me that like Doggy Style is like the Beatles? Or it's like the Beatles of hip hop, or like it's like
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper's White Album or whatever.
It's
or
something
Abbey
like
Road.
that.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the one that
whatever.
said that, but yeah, it's like that.
Okay, so somebody actually told me that it's like Doggy Style is like what for black hip hop music, it's our version of like the Beatles' Abbey Road or Sgt. Pepper's or the White Album from the Beatles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that tipping point where it's like we really start to groove and have fun with it. But I don't know. When he said it, as somebody who's listened to the Beatles catalog and like historically knows music, he made perfect sense to me. He made the analogy.
No,
So,
that's real.
So Snoop is our Beatles moment, because think about it, like people don't understand this. Is like the Chronic sold 4 million records. The next year, Doggy Style sold 5 million records. Motherfuckers was like happy to sell 500,000 copies.
We talked about this in the episode where you and I were talking about Doggy Style versus Get Rich or Die Trying or whatever as far as the debut. The thing is, Doggy Style, when Doggy Style hit, Snoop Dogg was a superstar and has been ever since. Even when he wasn't making great albums, he was still Snoop Doggy Dogg. He was a household name because of this record. He's been a household name for 30 years because of this record.
Mike, more than anybody else in the history of hip-hop, the commercialization of hip-hop artists, the need for album sales to be prevalent and important did not start until the Chronic and Doggy Style and who is the author. And so that makes it vastly more important and superior to Get Rich or Die Trying on every level, forever and ever.
No, but like you said,
forever.
Like you said, Doggy Style set the foundation for Get Rich or Die Trying to even happen. So yeah.
No, Mike, everybody, Life After Death happens. Ready to Die happens.
Yeah.
Volume 2 from Jay happens. It Was Written from Nas happens. Like, these dudes realized, like, they looked at Dre Snoop and was like, oh shit, we can't just, these dudes are making great records and selling records.
Yeah. I mean, our parents were listening to those records too.
Mike, whatever you want to say, like Paid in Full classic, arguably probably up until Illmatic considered to be the best rap album to come out of the East Coast. Shit sold like 700,000 copies when it first came out, like its first year. Okay,
right.
So when these dudes coming around selling $4 or $5 million, don't think that the whole rap world's not taking notice. That's Snoop. Nothing more important than that in terms of what this culture has become. He's the tipping point for the mainstream hip hop artists. Mike.
Yeah, I agree.
Look at him, the moment of people. There's what artists sold before Snoop came along, and then there's what people did and sold and the money they made after Snoop came along.
I think superstar wise, you got LL Cool J, the first hip hop superstar, solo star.
He wasn't a superstar.
Huh?
He wasn't a superstar.
LL wasn't a superstar? Come on.
Mike,
everybody knew who LL Cool J was.
Mike, in 1993, when Snoop is a superstar, he's just as big as LL, and LL's been along much longer.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, before Snoop Dogg, we talk about a solo rap superstar on a crossover level that people who don't listen to rap probably heard the name. I would say LL Cool J. After that, you got Snoop.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, yes.
Yeah.
But, like, understand, like, Snoop came into the game, like, you know, tripling, quadrupling, quintupling, like, LL Cool J's numbers.
No, I know. I mean, what they were doing was unprecedented. But,
tipping.
Yeah. But with that being said, Snoop Dogg has been able to consistently give us songs that we can remember But I could see how somebody would have him in the top 10 catalog category because let's keep it real, man. He smoked DMX in that verses with ease.
DMX isn't on this list either, and DMX isn't on this list either, and I wouldn't put him ahead of Snoop on catalog.
Well, what I would ask you is, do you think any of the people that you put in this list could hang with Snoop in a versus? I mean, because you saw what that DMX and Snoop versus was like. Because when I looked at it, I'm gonna just keep it real. I didn't think Jay could have beat him that night.
Mike, ain't nobody. Ain't no. I mean, if we talk, Mike, it's 20 songs, right?
Yeah, man.
So he can stay on like the Chronic and Doggy Style to this shit a rap.
Yeah, man.
He's the only, and here's why he would win the verses. So let's understand something. And this is like game, set, match type shit. He's the only guy that's the author of 2 of the best 10 rap albums ever. The only guy. That's
he didn't play a lot of.
That's what's important about it.
He didn't play a lot of records from the Chronic, did he?
That's what I'm trying to say, Mike. If he like, remember, he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I wrote that shit." It's like, "Oh yeah," I was like,
"Well, he played G Thing." Did he play? Did he play Dre Day?
I don't think he played Dre Day. He didn't play Let Me. Did he play Let Me Ride?
He didn't play Let Me Ride. No. But he did play Bitches Ain't Shit. And
so he played 2 Chronic records.
I know he played those. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the list.
Did
but
he play Murder? Let's look at the list. Did he play Murder? Was the case?
Yeah, because he played that after Slipping. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That was, right. He played that after.
That was a big moment.
That was a big moment. It's like he took Slipping from him. I was like, he took it fast. And you want to know what's crazy?
That's crazy.
He knew what to play. He knew what to
play.
He was
like, that was
the case.
You know what? That's Mike, what makes that my favorite verses.
Mike, that's the only record that he has that could have faded Slipping.
Yeah.
And he played it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. You know, that's what made me really love that verses. I think I like that verses the most because Snoop is very knowledgeable of his own catalog. He understands where his strong points are. And
Mike,
I don't think anybody could have beat him that night.
And Mike, he has other stuff because he hasn't made great albums, but he's made a lot of hits. He has other stuff to go to kind of in the bag.
Yeah.
How about this? Since he's already dropped off a 20-piece, it would be fun to see him and Ross go.
Well, you know, I don't think anybody wants it with his catalog. But the fact that he played the Shiznick, it's like, yeah, you know. like, you
I mean, Mike, the Shiznick's my favorite Snoop Dogg song, so.
He played that. That's my favorite. Did he play G's and Hustlers too? He plays.
I don't even know, Mike.
Yeah, man.
Mike, it's number 4 on my greatest rap albums that have ever been.
You got it very, very high. I don't know if I would have it that high.
4.
Wow.
Mike, what albums are really better than Doggy Style? From beginning to end, name an album better than Doggy Style. Because, Mike, when I really listen to it, it's like, okay, Illmatic, Aquemini, The Purple Tape. And then after that, I'd be like,
Well, if that's where you're going to go, I mean, I think It Takes a Nations of Millions to Hold Us Back is better.
It's got no, Mike, because how about
I think
this?
Paid in Full is better.
No, Mike. Okay, so let's get to number 4 because I'm moving Paid in Full up to number 5 and moving Life After Death up to number 6 after, like, really going back and listening to Paid in Full again today. So I will give you some argument about Paid in Full possibly being better than Doggy Style because I had it 6 on my list all time anyway, and I had Doggy Style at number 4. And after going back and listening to Paid in Full and then listening to Life After Death, I'm putting Paid in Full at number 5. I'm going to tell you why. Paid in Full has as many hits as Life After Death. It has 12 less songs.
Paid in Full is crazy, man.
But as far as It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, here's what I'm going to tell you, Mike. Everything that it Takes a Nation of Millions is quality-wise, so is Doggy Style, and those records are hit records and bigger hit records, so no, it's not better.
Bring the Noise. I mean, Rebel Without a Pause.
I mean, Mike, and that's not better than Gin and Juice, and it's not, Mike.
I think Rebel Without a Pause is better than anything on Doggy Style. And I love Doggy Style.
It's not, Mike. It's not better than Gin and Juice. It's not better than Murder Was the Case.
It's better than Gin and Juice. Murder Was the Case. It's up for argument.
It's definitely not better than the Shiznit. No, it's not.
Murder Was the Case. There's an argument there, but nah, man. Rebel Without a Pause is crazy.
Doggy World, G's and Hustlers. Like, Mike, What's My Name?
What's My Name
Like,
is my favorite song on there.
I love What's My Name.
What's My Name is crazy. That you know what, that record right there, and then we'll get to the rest of our countdown here. That record right there, that really exemplifies what it epitomizes what Dr. Dre is as a producer. You could hear him producing that record from the vocals to to the sounds in the back. It was incredible. This guy's not making beats. This dude is producing.
Paid in Full and Doggy Style are the only rap albums I think we've ever heard where it is literally quality from beginning to the end, and the quality isn't just that they're quality hit records, they're classic hip-hop songs in addition to being hit records.
Yeah.
And so you literally have to make a seminal creative piece of work that hasn't been made to fuck with that, and that would be Illmatic, Gemini, and Only Built for Cuban Links, in my opinion.
Andre Shashir says DLC wrote The Chronic, I thought. Yeah, the DLC had a lot.
Co-wrote.
Yeah.
Co-wrote. He's got the writing credits on there right next to Snoop. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'm.
And he helped Snoop, and he taught Snoop a lot of shit that Snoop knows as a writer.
So Snoop was missing the DLC and Dr. Dre on The Dogfather.
Maybe, I mean, I feel like, how about this? You want to know what? Andre brought up a very valid point. My problem with The Dogfather isn't the production. I'm looking at Snoop, the writer, from somebody that's made the Chronic and Doggy Style. He might have missed DLC more than he missed Dre, because a great writer's still going to shine through. Go look at Dear Mama. Not a great beat, not a great lyrical MC. One of the 10 best rap songs ever.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, you got Snoop Dogg, right? He was relying on a remake of The Vapors as a single. Now, I get it. You went out there and did a remake of Lottie Dottie on the debut, but it wasn't a single.
You're right.
You know?
How about this? You want to know what? Lottie Dottie is one of the worst songs on Doggy Style, and that's how songs like that end up. I mean, that's how albums like that being so high grade all the time. When you look at a record like Lottie Dottie and you're like, oh yeah, he did do that. Like, that's like the 7th or 8th or 9th best record on there or something. You know what I mean?
Andre says that I like Doggy Style better than the Crewman. I mean, listen.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
But I would rather listen to Doggy Style than Illmatic. And so I could understand how somebody could say that.
But I have one album at 2 and one album at 4. So, like, you know, they deserve to be discussed together, obviously. It's the same level being executed. Yeah.
I think The Chronic's better than Doggy Style for me, but, you know, we've gone through that, and you went song for song. Yeah. And I feel you song for song.
You don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it.
No. All of you Chronic fans, it's like, all I'm saying is we're just going to pull the records out. We're going to go record for record. I'm going to watch you lose a lot of records out. Like, Mike,
I just think that the Chronic has more depth to it.
Nothing But a G Thing and Little Ghetto Boy, you about to lose almost every record from songs 1 to like the Doggy Style.
I used to say that Doggy Style didn't have an answer for Little Ghetto Boy, but it does have Murder Was the Case. So, you know.
Murder Was the Case, track 7?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Mike, it's a rap. It's a rap, and it's definitely it doesn't have a chance.
I think
about it, Mike. I'm giving you Nothing But a G Thing, and I know that the Shiznit is track 5 on Doggy Style, and I'm giving you Nothing But a G Thing. Like, you're still losing. Because what Let Me Ride's not better than Gin and Juice, is it?
I think Let Me Ride is better than Gin and Juice. Yes, I do. I mean, Gin and Juice.
Number 4. So, Mike, number 4 is Rakim, because we're not going to do that.
What do y'all think in the room? All right, number 4 is Rakim Allah. What you got, catalog-wise?
I realized that he only has made one bad album, so it's brief.
What bad album is that, per se?
The Master in 1999.
Okay.
That album's not any good. Actually, Mike,
When I Be on the Mic on it, right?
It does. Mike, the 2 Primo tracks are the only really good songs. There's 3 really good songs. It's the 2 Primo tracks and the very last song. Like track When I Be on the Mic is primo track, and track 16, I think it's like When the World Ends or something like that, is the primo track. And then the song right after that, the rest of the album is very much unforgettable, his most unforgettable piece of work. But Mike, the work that he did on, and I got it right here in front of me, on Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, Don't Sweat the Technique, The 18th Letter. And he's made one album later, The Seventh Seal, which is much, much better than Master and is a pretty good album. But Mike, just Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, Don't Sweat the Technique, and The 18th Letter.
Let's talk about Follow the Leader, because we talk about, Paid in Full a lot. But Follow the Leader, I mean, the way that album starts off, I mean, that's tough to beat. You got Follow the Leader, you got Microphone Fiend, and Lyrics of Fury. I think that when you talk about first 3 records on an album, that's tough to beat.
No, Mike, it's the best start to a rap album ever.
I think so. I think it could be. Follow the Leader.
Mike, it's not a could be.
I'm trying to think of one comparable, and Lyrics of Fury is one of those records that, heads talk about. We talk about all the time. That record came out in 1988, and it might be one of the most, if not the most, lyrical rap record ever made. It's up there.
So when you're just talking about those 3 records, first of all, we're talking about 3 instant hip-hop classics. 2 of those songs were the 2 singles off of this album. This album is a classic. These are the songs that propelled it to classic status. For me, the only start to an album that is comparable is the whole New York State of Mind, Life's a Bitch, The World Is Yours start to Illmatic.
But it's very different.
It's very different.
This is aggressive.
But if we're talking, but here's the difference though, and here's what I think about when I realized how important Rakim was. Rakim was Biggie before Biggie. He was actually making the street single and the classic hit single at the same damn time, Mike. Like, he wasn't separating them. Like, remember when I talked about the format of Life After Death, about how he was changing things? I realized he was changing the Paid in Full format.
Yeah.
Because Rakim started a format where, he was making a single, but it was a street record and a classic record. He was doing 3 things at once. He's like, no, this is a single, this is a classic record, and it's a street record.
You know what's interesting, man? And I totally agree with you. You remember when Cannabis came through and he was blowing everybody out on these features and these mixtapes, and everybody was waiting for a Cannabis album and wondering what the shit was going to sound like. He came after Biggie changed things, or Biggie and Pac changed things with All Eyes on Me and Life After Death, where it was like the radio single was this and the street single was this. His approach should have been more Paid in Full-esque. I think Cannabis would have had a whole different level of success if he would have approached, or Wyclef or whoever was producing him, would have approached his debut in the way that Rakim approached Paid in Full, as far as radio, street records, and those being one of the same. Because you listen to Paid in Full, that's just a battle rap record. Like, the whole album, he's talking about battling you. He's talking about why you can't see him on the mic. That is the whole Paid in Full, beginning to end.
No, okay, so Mike, it's deeper than that because there's poetry in there.
It is, but you know what I mean. Like, it's flexing, like, and it's beautiful.
Hold on, that's the thing. Hold on, that was the thing. Okay, so let's take it back to the era that Rakim comes from. The thing is to step on the mic at the Park Jam and flex and show who's the dopest MC.
Right, and that's what Cannabis was, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
no. He was never that, because it's like, this is what I mean about it being poetic. Like, Cannabis was lyric. He was never really poetic, and that's what I used to always tell people about him. I mean,
you didn't think Cannabis was poetic?
No, we've had people come up on here, Mike, and people who have known me since high school will verify the fact that it's like Cannabis and DMX came around the same time. I called it early before either one of them dropped albums. I said, I like X more, and he's going to have a better career. He can write a song. The other guy can't write a song. Mike, Rakim literally came in the door being able to write a full song in a hip hop classic and showed it from
You're
the
right.
jump. Cannabis didn't show that. And I kept telling people that. I'm like, those are all rhymes. Mike, I used to tell people I preferred DMX's verse on 4321 over Cannabis's because I could feel the rawness and the grittiness, and I felt like he had something to say. People like, but listen to what Cannabis is saying. I'm like, yeah. I was like, but he's always saying something. I was like, and Mike, this is coming from me. I'm an intelligent dude, a reader, a thinker, a writer. It's like niggas don't want to hear that shit all the time.
He was definitely a rapper for the people who were. He was rapping to rappers, pretty much. The general public was not
even
gonna.
rapping to rappers. That's what I'm saying. So it's different than Rakim. So Cannabis is trying so hard for lyrical execution that he can never execute something like this. I came in the door. I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me no more. But it's fighting me, inviting me, biting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my coat, clearing my throat. Mike, that's classic.
Yeah.
That's instant classic shit that Cannabis ain't never did in his fucking life.
I'm with that.
Fucking life, he ain't never came in on a verse like that and sounded cool. He ain't never sounded cool, calm, collected, smooth, delivery, lyrical, single. No, he ain't
I
even
agree
fucking
with
Rock. It was never like so for me it was never even a discussion. I'm like, no, he's great lyrically. That's only one part of Rakim. Y'all just listening to the rhyme. He literally started off like, so it's not even a question. So while you want to talk about Follow the Leader, I want to talk about Paid in Full because I listened to Paid in Full from beginning to end for the first time in a long time. Mike, nope. No rap album ever has 5 singles released. They released 5 singles on Paid in Full.
They released 5 singles. And you know what? Honestly, 4 of those records are probably top 50 hip-hop records all time.
Mike, Mike, that was the next thing I was about to say.
Did My Melody? Are you talking about My Melody? Was that released as a single officially, or no?
That was the first single officially. Actually,
gotcha. Okay.
So, and if you want to actually count "Move the Crowd," it would actually be 6 because technically "Move the Crowd" got released too, so it's actually 6, which is fucking ridiculous.
It's insane.
Because the albums, it's insane. So, Mike, I want you to understand that on one album, he made more hits than Ice Cube, Ghostface, and KRS-One have made as solo artists. And they made this top 10, and they made this top 10 catalog list.
Wow.
That was off one album. And so let's talk his shit some more, Mike. It's not just that there are 4 songs on Paid in Full that are top 50. It's that, Mike, unquestionably, 5 of these songs are the top 100 songs ever. There is not an album
unquestionable
that can say that, and there's not a rapper that can lay claim that they made an album that has 5 songs on it that are literally one of the 100 best songs ever. Because here's what I'm trying to say when I say this, Mike. These are singles. They got played on the radio too. Which means they're not just quality rap street songs. They got played on the radio too. Paid in Full, I Ain't No Joke, I Know You Got Soul, My Melody, Eric B is President.
Yeah, and if you play those records right now, you get the same reaction. I think the only other album that I would say is close to that, Great Adventures of Slick Rick, where you got A Children's Story, you got Teenage Love, you got Mona Lisa, and you got Hey Young World.
That's 4, Mike.
That's 4.
He hit him with the 5-piece, and that's not counting Move the Crowd, which did get released, so that's technically
Well, I guess
6.
you could say The Moment I Feared, but that's not a top 100 hip-hop record. I don't think.
It's not.
Yeah. But with that being said, though, Rakim went on.
And he wasn't finished, so those are 5 records, and then you go to Follow the Leader, and you got Microphone Fiend and Follow the Leader. So, Mike, he's 2 albums in. He's made 7. So, Mike, keep in mind, we're talking about it's 2021, right?
Uh-huh.
Aren't those songs, those 7 songs I just named, 7 of the best 100 songs still made to this day?
I think so. You know, Mike, As the Rhyme Goes On was one of my favorites, too. And that wasn't even a single on Paid in Full.
Imagine what that actually looked like when he had dropped those records. Let's say, imagine what that looked like and felt like in 1990. Those 7 songs at the time were probably 7 of the 25 best rap records ever. It's only 100 now because it's 2021.
Right.
So let's look at how great his records are in retrospect for his time in comparison to everybody else. those 7 records alone off his first 2 albums are probably 7 of the 25 best hip-hop songs ever made by the time his second album is completed. Ain't nobody else ever pulled that off.
All right, and then we're going to go on to Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, where you got records like Ghetto on there. You got Mahogany.
Mike, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, In the Ghetto, Mahogany. Mike, that's not counting
No
I
Omega.
got other stuff here.
Yeah.
No, I got No Omega down, Mike. So then I went to Don't Sweat the Technique. There's the track Don't Sweat the Technique. Mike, I got Lyrics of Fury.
Know the Ledge.
Ghetto. Know the Ledge. Mike, Casualties of War. No Omega. Untouchables. Pass the Hand Grenade. Teach the Children. Mike, like those first 4 albums, like I was sitting back today and I was like, the only reason I think Nas and Jay are better, we're gonna get to them in a minute because we're almost to the top.
Yeah.
Only reason they're better is because they've done more work. His first four albums are superior to their first 4 albums.
Listen, you know me, and you know I've always said Rakim's the best rapper I've ever heard. You know, I think that.
No, you're right.
I think that I'm really fascinated. I'm really fascinated by Rakim, and I'm really fascinated by Wilt Chamberlain, man. I was sitting here watching like old Wilt Chamberlain film and listening to his interviews, and he was very folklorish, man. And both of these guys remind me of one another in their individual craft. Like Wilt said something in an interview, and I'll be quick because I know we're going over, but they asked him like, because he would drive cross country. He said he drove cross country like 20 times or something like that, and he was a loner. And the guy that was interviewing him, I guess they tried to put him with Bill Russell and all that stuff. And he's like, why are you such a loner? He's like, I would have to, have somebody that I felt was comparable to me that I could actually talk to. And for me, that's impossible. And that sounds arrogant, but when you look at what this man did in the game and the era that he did it, he stands alone. And I feel the same way about Rakim. Rakim didn't collaborate with anybody in those times. And it never, those records that you mentioned, he stands alone. He didn't need no help. He carried that, and it's amazing, man.
Mike, he has been, so I'm gonna tell you something. Catalog really, really matters to me, and so I'm gonna still say Nas is the greatest MC of all time. But in a vacuum, Nas and Jay can't fuck with Rakim because every song that I just named, he made by his goddamn self.
Yeah.
It's just Rakim on all these songs that I just named. And Mike, I'm not finished yet. No, I ain't done talking this shit. We're going to finish talking this shit. People forgot. The 18th letter, Mike, the saga begins that Pete Rock produced. It's been a long time that DJ Premier produced. New York, the DJ Premier produced. When I Be on the Mic. So he delivered 4 hip-hop classic records that I can verify that I know are hip-hop classics when I heard them in high school. Like when he was 10 years after his prime. Yeah. And those records too, Mike, guess what? By himself. When you go pull up Nas and Jay's best records, you cannot go 25 songs deep solo of their best stuff. His best stuff, he's by himself. Their best stuff, they may have 25 songs that can rival it, but understand he did all of this alone.
I will say this too, and it's the other amazing part about Rakim, he never sounds like the old guy. He has never gotten on a record it sounded like the old guy in the room. And
Right.
and he just he was just on the Busta Rhymes. He debuted in '86, and it's amazing. Like you said, he re-verified to a different era in the late '90s that who he was. And then did it again in the 2000s.
Can I tell you something musically? And he comes from a musical family, so this probably has something to do with it, so he understands the power and intention of his voice. There's only been 2 people that I've ever heard in music, in black music, that I thought like had a voice that literally came from God, and that's Stevie Wonder and Rakim. In terms of when I hear their voice, it does something to you that just makes you listen to what they have to say. It's like
Yeah.
some sort of impartation going on where you feel compelled to listen to them and everything they have to say from beginning to end, whether you're a fan or not. And
Yeah.
something about the voice. And so you're right. And you want to know, they both have that same thing in common. It sounds timeless to you every time you hear them. He just got verse of the year. The ELE2 verse, like he spit on Busta Rhymes shit, really was the verse of the year. This dude
It really was.
1988. Like, that's bananas.
Yeah.
And so, catalog-wise, he's at number 4. Nobody's more impressive in a vacuum. And so, I'll say that Nas is still my greatest MC of all time. But if somebody comes up and asks me more, do I really think that he's a better MC bar for bar than Rakim? I'm going to tell them no.
Mm.
And if I tell them yes, and if it is Jay or Nas over Rakim, it's about their versatility, which is part of the reason, and it reflects in their catalog that we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But guess who I have at number 3 that you're gonna love? Like, you're gonna love this.
Well, I know who's left.
I got Kanye at number 3, Mike.
Yeah, Kanye West, top 3 catalog all time.
So the surprise of the day was that. Like,
shout out to Kanye too.
Mike, this dude has so many hit singles and street anthems and classic album tracks that, like, it's fucking ridiculous.
And classic albums too.
No, Mike, and classic albums. So I'm going to tell you something else too. So Kanye and Rakim are at number 3 and number 4. But if we want to talk about first 4 albums, obviously I have Nas and Jay at 1 and 2. And there's a that I'm going to express before we end this show. Because I realized something about them, too, that separates them from everybody else when I went through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So and there is a separation. But as far as for, like, the first 4 albums, Kanye and Rakim's first 4 albums are better and more consistent than Nas and Jay's first 4 albums. And that's part of how they ended up high.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just the fact. You can go listen to Nas's first 4 albums. You can go listen to Jay's first 4 albums. You can go listen to Rakim's first 4 albums. Go listen to Kanye's first 4 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Nas and Jay have won. Hold on. What did Jay said? You started off. Hold on. This is a marathon. You started off strong. Now you wheezing in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Nas and Jay have done. They've won the marathon.
Right.
But the sprint, Kanye and Rakim won the sprint, Mike.
Yeah. You know.
And Kanye is over Rakim because of the fact that he has the records aren't as important, but Mike, it's too many big hits to ignore. It's too much diversity to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much great classic album tracks to ignore. Let me talk Ye shit right quick, unless you want to go in right quick, because I'm about to bring up
he has
catalog.
game shifting stuff too, where it's like, you know, he changed sounds a couple of times, and the game followed him. I mean, you have that pivotal moment where Graduation beat, you know, Curtis in the first week sales, and basically Backpack, or I don't want to say more conscious, but Backpack took over gangster rap, you know what I mean? So that was a shift in itself. 808s and Heartbreaks, that was a shift. I mean, you got people like Drake and people of those ilks who actually come from the lineage of that album in itself. Not to mention My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which kind of broke the mold for that generation we were going to see after that, giving us Nicki first jump off for real, giving us one of Ross's more important jump offs of that time. And Kid Cudi, so he kind of opened up another generation with that. So he's been very transitional in his shit.
So let's go through. Let's talk Ye shit, because this is super important. I'm going to tell you something that I realized today. Because if no more music drops, I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. If no more music drops, we're going to do our top 10 producer catalog next week. Guess what? Guess what? If we actually end up doing that, because these rappers are tied up by these labels, and apparently they are, and you can't drop shit, we're going to end up talking top 10 producer catalogs, specifically top 5, and guess who we're going to be talking about again next week, probably?
Mr. West.
And so, Mike, with that being said, that makes him the most fascinating artist in the history of hip-hop.
I think he
is. That's what I have to say. What I realized today, you know, if you Google Kanye West right now, that they do not even bring up his albums. You have to put in Kanye West albums. This motherfucker is a music producer and a rapper.
Well, not to mention, you know, I think Kim just filed for divorce today, so we're probably going to be getting some heat from Kanye now.
Oh God, I'm afraid of the heat that's coming. But so let's just say that
It might
he's
come in the
big.
form of Pusha T,
Well,
hopefully.
Mike, he is really the only black hip hop artist ever that if you Google him right now, his discography and his albums and his songs don't come up. Like who he is and what he is beyond hip hop is bigger news when you Google him than literally his music, Mike. And I'm putting him at third on our catalog list as an artist, and I think he might be a better producer. I just think the proper producers might be better than rappers, so he might be fucking lower next week.
The thing is, man, I think that his strength as a producer adds to that strength as a I guess artist or rapper, however you want to say it.
You know what I realized today too, Mike? I gotta talk Kanye shit because I've been hard on him. I realize it's like you listen to a Dr. Dre album to hear what everybody else is gonna do to Dr. Dre's beats. Kanye hasn't made albums that are superior in my opinion. Some have been comparable. But you listen to Kanye's album to hear the shit Kanye gonna say in addition to the beats, and I don't think any producer's ever had it like that.
Yeah.
And so that makes him the most fascinating hip hop artist ever because that means he can exist where Dr. Dre and Pete Rock and DJ Premier and The Alchemist and whoever else you want to name exists as producer, but he also gets to exist where Rakim and Kane and Nas and
he
Jay
keeps you
and
guessing.
Big Pop.
He keeps you guessing. He's a true artist in that sense. Like you don't know what you're gonna get.
So let's go to the good, great, and classic material. There's obviously the college dropout. There's late registration. There's graduation. There's the good music, Cruel Summer, which I thought was actually a really solid project because there's a lot of great music on there. There is. Of course, there's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Even though I'm not a fan of the record, 808s and Heartbreaks is a game changer and a quality record. Yeah. Same thing with Watch the Throne. Okay, so when you start looking at it, it's like, so what are his so-so and bad records? It's like, well, you have Jesus is King, Yay, Yeezus, Life of Pablo.
Do we even count Jesus as King? But I guess you got to. It's in the catalog.
So we can take it off.
Because it's hard to even quantify those kind of records.
So here's what I'm saying. When I'm saying Rakim and Kanye are actually more consistent, Rakim only has one piece of bad work. Kanye only has three. The two guys at the top have won the war of attrition, but they've made more suspect material than the guys at 3 and 4.
And you know what? And I'm not even trying to sound like I'm caping for Kanye, right? But I get the feeling in all of his not so great records that he's trying something. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
he's trying to go somewhere.
Yeah. It's like when Common made Electric Circus. It's not like when he made
Please don't do that when we're talking about Kanye and putting him at third on this list.
No, I'm just saying. Electric Circus was like Common trying something. It didn't totally work out the way that people wanted it to, so I kind of respect it in a different light. Now, as far as what was that other record that he made? Universal Mind Control? That's just a bad album. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between making just a flat-out bad album and actually trying something.
Mike. That album specifically, when I started going down the catalogs between KRS, Common, and LL Cool J, and Common was like clearly in the lead over both of them. And like I gave Electric Circus a little bit of the pass because Dilla did do some quality production on there. But my Universal Mind Control was like, no.
That's a bad album.
You can't be in my top 10.
And you know what makes that album really bad is the fact that the Neptunes and Mr. DJ from Outkast did the whole thing. That is what makes it the worst.
I mean, he makes it bad, too, that he actually allowed all that to happen. So we named the albums, but I just want to name off some songs right quick of Kanye, because what I found out is that Kanye might be the most diverse songmaker / hit maker in the history of rap. Listen to the songs that I'm about to make. Listen to the songs that I'm about to name. And there are plenty other songs that people are going to name in between. These are just the ones that I just pulled. Mike, Through the Wire, Jesus Walks, Gold Digger, Touch the Sky, Good Life, Flashing Lights, Love Lockdown, Heartless, Power, All of the Lights, Otis, Two Words, All Falls Down, Drive Slow, Crack Music, Good Morning, Big Brother, So Appalled, Gorgeous, Mercy.
Theraflu.
Mike, I was about to say, Mike, do you want me? Hold on, Mike, because we didn't really get to everything. I didn't get to Never Let Me Down with Jay-Z. Like, we didn't go through Roses or Diamonds from Sierra Leone or We Major. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you can keep going. We didn't go to Barry Bonds. Like, there's so many places you can go with this shit, Mike. We didn't even go to Monster off of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy or Runaway.
Let me ask you this.
Devil in a Blue Dress, which might still be the best verse of Ross' career.
Is there an artist that we know more about based on how expressive that they are in their music than Kanye West?
Tupac.
It's about it.
That's it. It goes, how about this, Mike? It goes Tupac, Kanye, Scarface. And Kanye's ahead of Scarface because of the diversity of the expression, because of the songs that I just named and the diversity of the songs.
And it's funny you say that. I mean, I don't want to say always, but when Kanye got to a certain point in his career, I was like, as crazy as it sounds, I think he's the most expressive artist that hip-hop has had since Tupac.
He is.
And it turned out that he is.
No, how about this? The way that he can express it differently into a quality record, that's what I would put him ahead of Scarface about, because I would actually think Scarface is better at expressing himself consistently and has done it consistently over a course of a time. But it exists in a certain realm, in a certain genre. Conway can make Gold Digger and Roses on the same album and make it a classic album. That's hard to do.
Kanye, but yes. I mean, you listen to records like Gold Digger, you listen to All Falls Down, and he's telling you who he is. And, you know, and what Kanye doesn't get a lot of credit for, too, is the fact that he made it okay for artists to really be honest. Use your government name.
No,
again, on a mainstream level. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you know, certain... You know, factions have always been honest, but yeah.
You want to know what it is? The artists who were honest before him that became major stars were more tormented than he was. He always came off more flashy, but he expressed himself the way a Scarface, a Tupac, a DMX did.
But they all had this edge. Like, as far as like having zero street credibility, he broke that door all the way open. Like, I was watching,
he's the guy.
I was watching Get Up, Get Out the other day. You know, Outkast, Goody. And the long version. And I'm looking at Dre's last verse. They are like behind project bars and all this stuff with the white tee and the Lokes on. Even they had to express some level of street credibility at that time.
Mike,
you know what I mean?
No, Mike. They was really like going to Tri-Cities and living in the hood. Like,
they were.
Like Rico Wade Mom House was really off Headland and Delow and East Point.
Definitely.
Like,
but I'm just saying, like, even though that wasn't their whole get up when it came to the album and what they was talking about, rap was about an edge. And like somebody who was as clean cut as Kanye was not going to work, and he broke that door down.
No, Mike, that's why Through the Wire, Jesus Walks, and All Falls Down are the most important records of his career still, because those are the records that you're talking about that broke the door down, because all the guys around him had edge. They didn't have better records than that.
I mean, you know what? He gets a lot of points from me too. The fact that his first single ever, for people were really hearing him for the first time, he had his mouth wires shut and didn't sound like himself. Now, that's a balls out single. Because I remember when I first heard Through the Wire,
Mike,
I was like, yo, I don't like this record.
It's not balls out when your real craft at the time is being a producer and you're trending towards being one of the greatest producers of your generation. Not as a bigger risk as you think when you put it in that context.
But we knew what the ultimate goal was, though. He didn't want...
Yeah, but I'm just saying, let's contextualize it. If that doesn't go well, he still probably ends up being one of, I don't know, somebody we mentioned is one of the 5 greatest producers catalog-wise.
And he would get another chance at putting out a record.
Which is probably about to happen next week, right? So he really wasn't as ballsy as all as you're thinking. He was already a genius at something else. Right.
Yes. All right.
So let's get to you want to last two?
Yeah, last two. Go ahead.
Last two. I got Jay at 2. I got Nas at number 1. I'm going to tell you why, though. It goes back to the Rakim thing. Jay's best stuff, he just had more help than Nas. I'm going to tell you where they've really separated themselves, though, Mike, before we even get into it. Or what anybody wants to say, they got some of everything, Mike, and there's just no denying it at this point. Those two guys are in their own separate conversation.
I agree.
And I realized today that it's just them in the conversation. Like when we're talking about the greatest MCs of all time, if we're taking the totality of everything into its full respect, the conversation at this point is down to only 2 guys, and it's these 2 guys.
And like you were saying, man, last week we were talking about them, and the show did crazy numbers. People are that interested in Jay-Z and Nas still in 2021.
Because they are connected into hip hop culture so many ways through the work that they've done, who they've worked with. Like so many seminal moments in hip hop over the last 25 years involve these two guys specifically in some sort of shape, form, or fashion. Let's go look at Machiavelli. Both of these guys, they're not even in a beef, but they're both making Machiavelli because Pac has something to say about them. Like, they've been so much a part of this culture in so many ways. But Mike, the quality of music and the number of albums that they have made that have been quality over everybody else, it just shines through. I want to say something right quick before I get into what's written down, Mike. I'm not bringing up any of their guest appearances. These guys have done so many classic and legendary guest appearances that exceeds everybody else. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, if you want to say Drake, I get you. I'm talking about, like, on some rap shit, like going to verse for something.
I got you.
Like, not even factoring that into it, Mike, these guys are clearly number 1 and 2. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying I'm taking, like, and that means a lot for Nas. Like, I'm taking Verbal Intercourse and Live at the Barbecue off the table. It still stands the way it stands. That's saying a lot. These guys are
right.
epic. So,
and even if we talk about skill set and all that stuff on top of that.
So hold on. So when you were saying that Nas isn't as versatile as Rakim to you, it's like, you're wrong, but it's just in the songs, Mike. It's in everything that I'm talking about. But we're going to start with Jay. So let's go to his quality of material. Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, Volume 2, The Blueprint, The Black Album, The Blueprint 3, American Gangster, Watch the Throne. How many albums did I just name, Mike? I just named 8 quality albums with about 3 to 4 classics in there.
Yeah.
I want to say again, I'm a Nas fan. I just named 8 quality albums with about 3 to 4 classics in there, depending on who you ask. Mike, I want you to listen to his Suspect stuff, not his bad stuff, the Suspect stuff. Volume 3, The Dynasty, and The Blueprint 2.
You got The Dynasty and The Blueprint 2 as Suspect, huh? Well, I mean, I got you.
It's not as good as those other albums that I just named.
Nah, it's not. It's not.
It's got about 2 or 3 songs on there that you're like, ooh.
He's got some real strong work on at least Dynasty and Blueprint 2, though.
Mike, Dynasty, the intro, This Can't Be Life, and 1-900 Hustler. Absolutely right.
And again, I love Stick to the Script.
I know you love Stick to the Script.
They call me William H., the all-time great.
I feel you. So as far as his bad albums, I have 444, Magna Carta, Kingdom Come, and Best of Both Worlds. But
people love 444. People love 444.
No.
Magna Carta's trash.
So is Kingdom Come to me. Like, both 444 and Kingdom Come. Magna Carta is the worst, but Kingdom Come and 444 aren't far behind. But listen to what we're saying. He's definitely made 8 albums that are worth listening to and listening to consistently. Oh, yeah. He's made 3 albums that you should still give a listen to. That's 11. Mike, he's only made 4 albums that you should just put away.
Reggie says, you ever thought what a Jay-Z and Nas collaboration EP album would look like? I actually think that's going to happen at some point, Reggie.
I'm worried about the production on that.
I think, you know what? I think Jay would do it. I don't think Nas would do it.
I'm worried about the production on that. I'm going to leave that right there. So, Mike, let's get to some of Jay's singles. These are singles that he's released. Can't Knock the Hustle, Feeling It, Hard Knock Life, Money Cash Hoes, Do It Again, Big Pimpin', I Just Want to Love You, Song Cry, Girls, 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 Dirt Off Your Shoulder, 99 Problems. Mike, I just stopped at the Black Album. Mike, when I got right there, Mike, when I got to the Black Album, I was like, okay, that's like 10, 11 hits, and he got another 10, 11 after that. Let's just stop right there.
Listen,
Mike,
man, I'm going to tell you this.
No. I'm not done. No. I want to talk everybody's shit today. People need to understand that I'm a Nas fan, how important Jay is and how great he is. Mike, Dead Presidents, Can I Live?
Yeah.
Streets is Watching, Imaginary Player, A Week Ago, You Don't Know, Heart of the City, PSA, Lucifer, Allure. Mike, like I said, I just went up to the Black Album. When I got to the Black Album, I was like, okay, first of all, I was like, okay. When I started going through their stuff, when I went through their first 5 albums, I'm like, they're only in conversation with each other after album number 5. Everybody else fades after album number 5.
Well, what I was going to say, man, you remember Vashawn Smith, right? Shout out to Vashawn out there. Yeah. Well, I remember back in,
We used to club together.
Yeah, man, we all used to hang out. But yeah,
Yeah.
I remember back in, I think it was '02. It was when Jay was doing the Jay-Z and Friends. It was supposed to be the Jay-Z and R. Kelly Best of Both Worlds, but R. Kelly dropped out, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, me and Vashawn ended up, getting tickets to that show. And Jay
Mike, I
put on
remember when y'all got tickets. I remember when he told me that. That's
that.
crazy. I knew him better than I knew you back then. Because
Yeah.
he used to roll with Holla. Him and Holla used to, yeah.
I talked to Holla the other day. Shout out to them.
Oh,
But
really?
Yeah,
You talked to Holla?
Yeah. He good.
Hey, man.
But yeah,
Hey.
anyway, Jay put on a 2.5 hour performance, man. And I'm sitting here like, yo, man, this dude's catalog is crazy. This is before the Black Album came out.
This is what that's what I mean. So even when Nas and Jay weren't making their most consistent efforts, a la a Volume 2 or a Volume 3 or a I Am or Nostradamus, Mike, there's still stuff on there that's all-time great.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is where I realized they separated themselves, Mike. Even at their weakest moments, they're going to give you something special. 444 does have special moments. So does Magna Carta. So does Kingdom Come. So does Nostradamus. So does Untitled. So does Lost Tapes 2. They all have special moments even when they're at their worst. That's where they separate themselves. So even if Kanye and Rakim are more consistent, it's briefer. It's not as versatile. It's not as strong. It doesn't stay with you as long. So like I literally have, and here's something that I realized.
Distance Relatives is great.
I was really close to putting Jay at number 1 objectively, and I'm going to tell you what has happened. Distant Relatives and King's Disease is important to Nas remaining number 1 on this list right now, because Nas has more street bangers and like classic album songs. Jay's got him on hits. Nas has released one more album, Mike. The way that I literally have it weighed out, Nas has made one more quality album. He's released one more album. So Distant Relatives and or King Disease, how you can look at it literally is a difference, because Nas has the album tracks, Jay has the hits. The catalogs are literally about equal. So let's get to Nas's catalog. Illmatic. I went classic, great, good albums. And if you don't feel this way, tell me if I'm wrong, because everybody knows I'm a Nas fan.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Illmatic, It Was Written, I Am, Lost Tapes, Stillmatic, Godson, Life is Good, Distant Relatives, King's Disease. The stuff that's so-so is Street's Disciple, Nasir, the Firm album, Hip Hop is Dead. The bad stuff is the Untitled album, Nostradamus, and the Lost Tapes 2.
Okay.
It's almost even, Mike. It's literally almost practically even. Jay has more hit records. Nas has more quality album songs. So let's get to some of Nas's singles. And here's where Jay wins, because Nas's singles sometimes are just classic hip-hop records that end up being singles. It Ain't Hard to Tell. The World Is Yours. If I Ruled the World. Nas is like Hate Me Now. One Mic. Made You Look. You're the Man. I Can. Mike, I threw Phone Tap in there because I put Niggas in Paris in there.
You're the Man was a single? I thought Got Yourself a Gun.
Mike. I went and did my research. I found out You're the Man was a single. I thought that was crazy.
I thought that was I never knew that. I thought Got Yourself a Gun was the
no, it
lead
was, Mike.
single
I didn't
from there.
count it because I
didn't
count
love that
Got
record.
Yourself a Gun because I said the song either needs to be a classic hip hop single or it needs to be a great song. I didn't think it was a great song. So I don't know if you noticed, I didn't bring up any singles from Jay off Volume 1 because I didn't think Sunshine or that track with Blackstreet were great singles or classic hip hop songs. They weren't.
A Million and One wasn't a single?
I thought Streets is Watching was a single. I don't know about A Million and One, but I'm not sure. But A Million and One is one of those records that I didn't mention that goes into Jay's classic album catalog. So does Where I'm From, You Must Love Me. And that's where I realized these guys had separated themselves, because when I was naming great album tracks, I'm like, oh, but I forgot about that song. I forgot about that song. I forgot about that song. Mike, I started thinking of so many songs. I was like, I'm going to end up writing down 50, 75 songs these guys have a piece. I'm not about to do that. We press for time. So
we're already 2 hours something in,
Mike,
we're having a great show.
Mike, One Love. Mike, One Love. Life's a Bitch. The Message. Silent Murder. Last Words. Ether. Rewind. Do Rags. Blaze of 50. Mike, Beef's Theme.
You're going to make me go play some of these records. And you know the crazy part, like...
And so, Mike, I've always said that Nas' high level is higher than anybody else's highest level. It is... But Jay's right there with him.
Mm-hmm.
He is. I seen it today. I've seen it the last few days while I've been doing my digging and my research. Everything that Nas can do on the other, like it's so fucking even. It's ridiculous. It's really about who you prefer more.
Yeah,
it is. That's how close it is. I was surprised at how close it is because I told myself it's like, no, I'm gonna look at it objectively, and objectively I looked at it today. It's like if Nas doesn't make King's Disease and Relatives, I have to put Jay at number one.
I think for a lot of people, the tiebreaker is the Ether and takeover stuff, or whenever they get on the record together. But see, the thing about when they get on records together, I always get the feeling that one person's trying and one person's not. So I don't really feel like we get clear indications there, and that's not going to tell you the whole story either. Because, like you said, that's more about who you prefer.
That's personality. That's more personality test, competitive spirit, fervor, fire, how people approach songs. What their objective and what their motive is.
Andre Shashir says 444 wasn't bad at all. Uncle Fram says 444 is great.
No. Hold on. I want you to understand something. All of you guys saying that, I want you all to go listen to Reasonable Doubt. Go listen to The Blueprint. Go listen to the Black Album. Go listen to The Blueprint 3. And then tell me that 444 is great. Like, you are lying to yourselves. We gonna stay in Jay's catalog. Like, it's not even respectably close to any of those albums. It's not great. It's not even good. It's bad.
I think it's good for where he is now.
It might be the worst album he ever made, Mike.
I think it's good for where he is now in life. It showed people that he could make an album at this age, being honest. But again, like somebody was saying on my timeline, Nas made that album with Life is Good,
Life is Good. And he just did it with King's Disease and did it better with Life is Good and King's Disease that Jay did with 444. 444 is not good.
Andre Shashir says they might be doing one right now. Nas said he's working on something secret he can't talk about. I mean, I think it would make sense for them to make an album together.
He's been working on something secret he can't talk about since 1997. Ain't nobody trying to hear that shit either. Where the Nas.com album at? Where the DJ Premier Nas album at? Where the AZ Nas album at? Like, just stop. Just stop.
Hey, you sound like me with Q-Tip, man. Q-Tip, man. Where is
Hold on, Mike. I feel like the way that you feel about, I think, Q-Tip and Ghostface is the way that I feel about Nas and Scarface. Yeah.
What about how I feel about Andre 3000? Is there...
Who do I have, like, ultimate shade for? Lauryn
What
Hill.
you mean? Oh, well, you know what? There you go.
You know how I feel about how she left my ass hanging at them 2 shows? Got my ass waiting for 3-4 hours for your ass to not be...
One of my good friends, Brandon Safola. Brandon's from Atlanta like myself, and he thinks that I'm off code talking about Andre in the way that I have.
Off code, Mike. No, like on some A shit, like Mike on some A shit, like you be kind of off base, like niggas come here be like, yo, like tell your man stop talking about sex, like
and he said that I should apologize.
Like, you know how this Atlanta shit go, Mike? Like, niggas be like, hey, everybody know what's up with 3 Stacks. Tell that nigga don't be airing that shit out live. Like, y'all niggas be broadcasting live. Be like, Coop, I seen you say what's up to some nigga from Australia the other day, nigga.
But you know what? He was like, Brandon said I should apologize. And you know what? He sent me
I've been telling you, Mike,
he sent me a clip.
You owe Andre I've been telling you for a year, you owe Andre an apology. I will concede to you that he doesn't deserve to be belonged in these conversations about the brevity of material. But like I said, Mike, it's like this. It's an eye test type of thing.
Yeah.
So let's look at the best NFL wide receivers ever. You see, Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin and Sterling Sharp and even Terrell Owens, they're more consistent in and out of a route every single down than Randy Moss is. But ain't nobody in their right fucking mind if there's a football game going on and all of those guys are lined up and you get to pick the first wide receiver, Randy Moss is going off of the board because let me tell you something these guys don't have. None of those guys run 4.2. None of those guys are 6'4". None of those guys jump 40 inches out the air. None of those guys can catch the ball with one hand at will through traffic with 2 to 3 to 4 people on them and has done it consistently. Like they can't do that. And so you have to understand Andre can do some things that literally nobody else can do. And so when you put him out there on the field, it's like, oh, no. I know he shouldn't make the team, but if I get to draft somebody, let me draft that guy.
No, that's real.
That's what my guy Obi was saying.
Andre's probably the most.
Saying. And those guys are heads. He resonates with the heads like that for real too, Mike. Like he resonates with the heads on
with
the same
everybody.
Level no, he resonates with the heads on the same level that Mos and Black Thought and Nas do, and they think him to be superior to Nas and Mos, and right there with Thought, if not better than Thought.
I think that
he's better than Thought, Mike.
I think that Andre's probably one of the most talented songwriters ever in hip-hop history.
I just said they think he's better than Thought. Are you listening to me?
That's hard to say. I mean, I get it. Believe me, I get it. He was my favorite rapper for a very long time.
You're saying something pretty serious when you don't even rap regularly and people think that you better than Thought, think that you better than Nas. Like, those dudes still rap actively and very well.
You know what? This is what I'll say, man. And, you know, what I was saying to build up to, you know, what my friend was telling me, he sent me a clip that where CeeLo was being interviewed, I think by Beehive, out here, 107.9 in Atlanta. And he asked him about Andre or something like that. And CeeLo was basically saying, you know, we all build. They were out the beach somewhere chilling. But he said, well, what Andre is doing is he is exercising his freedom to do nothing. And he's like, that's what we worked for, to be able to get to the point where if I don't want to do something, I have earned the right to say no. And I got to respect that.
Hey, Mike, that might be the realest shit ever because, you know, they pulled Big Boy and Andre up on Forbes, and this was probably about 10 years ago, but they said that their estimated worth, like individually, was between 40 to 50 mil a piece. Mm-hmm. That's I don't have to get up and work anywhere type of money. Like Mike.
That's why he's out here playing flute at airports.
Hold on, Mike. If you got $5 million and you're, let's say, our age, you still need to get your ass up and go to work. You may not think that you do, but you do.
Yeah.
But when you're about 10 years older than us, like he is, and you got about $40-50 million in the bank, no, you don't.
And you're not inspired by what, you know, you were once inspired by. You don't have to force it. You're not in a position where you financially have to force your art. So why do it? And I'm not mad at that.
No. You can't knock that part of the hustle. That is, and for a black man to reach that economic freedom in this country within itself is an accomplishment.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So you do have to respect it on that.
So I apologize if I come across.
That's very poignant. Very poignant. Thank you for apologizing.
If I come across as crass in that, I just don't think
it's that you're crass with it. Thank you. Yeah. It's that you make Mike. I've told you I've sided with you on most of this stuff because fundamentally what you're saying is right. But I will submit to you, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you've been a little hard on Dre, like you've been taking it personally. But I know you well enough to know, like Mike, I know you well enough to know people don't understand how long we've really known each other. I know how much, even when you were active as an artist, how Outkast inspired your music was, Mike.
Yeah.
Like you guys sounded
I'm a mad fan.
Right, Mike. You guys sounded like Outkast.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, no, in a good way. We liked y'all. Mike, you talked to Holla the other day. Holla's the one that put me on to y'all. That's why I was laughing. I'm like, damn. I'm like, this is the nigga that put me on to you anyway.
So I know their material back and forth, backwards, all that. So that's where I'm coming from.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to say some shit real quick. I don't think, we kind of knew each other, but we really didn't meet until your 21st birthday party.
Oh, that was a crazy party. Yeah, I remember that.
You remember the party?
Yeah.
The party was crazy. Holla was the one that was like, yo, Mike's having the party. Third 21, whoop. We going to run through. Mike,
we've
been in the studio. So me and my cousin, M6, the dude who I'm always talking about that put me on and taught me how to rap, I moved 6 down here from Charlotte, okay? Me and 6 are working on our project together. And I don't even know. Me and Holla are smoking a cigarette out on the back dock Dave and Buster's one night. And just told me, I just asked him, I was like, yo, you rap? And he came home with me, told me he was from Seattle, and he started working. Mike, the first track he finished, we played at your birthday party that night. That was the track he had been working on. Yeah, that got recorded in my camp. That was the first track me and my cousin ever recorded for somebody that wasn't me or him. That was Holla. And after that, we started working with Holla on his shit. More my cousin than me, because me and Holla just wrote and did songs together. But that's how all that came to be, and that's how I came to know you. So shout out to Holla and the whole 206.
That a little history lesson right there. But yeah, man,
we're
damn near like 2.5 hours in, man. We gotta wrap this up, man.
We gotta go. Hey, Mike, I also want to apologize too, because the nigga that was shooting the gun outside, he was with us. It's all bad.
Yeah, that was awful. I was like, man, they fucked up this shit.
I'm sorry, dude. I was a different guy. I was running with different dudes. That shit was crazy. we speak the.
What's that? You broke up.
I said we ain't fam about that. I said we ain't even speak to fam about that when we pulled that move. We was like, it wasn't even like that. We know this hood, we know this area, this family.
It's residential.
Yeah, we was residential. That's why I was like, fam, this fam. I was like, this. Oh, it's terrible. That's our bad. That's our bad. Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna get up out of here, man. Top Authority said he loves this. Top Authority says that he loves this conversation. Well, you know what? We're definitely going to continue to do this on a week-to-week basis. We have been doing it. We actually were going on YouTube, man. It ended up pushing us back to YouTube. So this has been our YouTube followers talking. And this is our first live on YouTube. Probably, assess it and see if we need to keep doing it. But we still had a lot of our people that are usually on the Facebook thread come over here to YouTube. So, yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel since you're already on here. And you want to go over the top 10 one more time before we get up out of here?
Yeah, we'll go 10 to 1. We'll go KRS 1 at 10, Rick Ross at 9, Tupac at 8, Ghostface at 7, Ice Cube at 6, Scarface at 5, Rakim at 4, Kanye at 3, Jay-Z at 2, Nas at 1. And I want to reiterate, just for the J fans, I'm literally separating this about King's Disease. It's one more quality album. They have it's stupid how close it is. It's stupid.
I think I don't know if Jay's going to come with another solo album, but we're going to see, man. He's been doing a lot of collaboration albums. So
if it stays right here, Mike, and they never ever do any more material again, but just contribute and do stuff, that means it's just forever a conversation.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, next week we're gonna do that producer one if no new music drops, but it don't really seem like nothing about to drop. So this is gonna be interesting too.
Hey, fam that's made the comment about the KRS and Rock Primo joints, and listen today. Very, very valid. When you got Rakim, KRS-One, Nas, Big, and J, and you got some of their classic shit. Who else can say that?
Yeah,